baby. The baby's here. Oh, look at the baby. Oh, man, it goes so quick. So I know your first kid is Peach. I'm assuming that's after Mario or no?
Well, I mean, not really after Mario. It's mostly the fruit. This one's name is Minnow, and she was actually named after my cat, our cat. Duffy.
Hi, Minnow. Hi, buddy. Hang on. I got to show you something. Let's see. What do I got? Minnow, look. Who is that? That's Mickey Mouse. She's like, I don't want that. I want like
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh, you want this? Yeah.
Let's see if we can get her to Minnie.
No, she's putting it on mute.
Minnie.
No, don't do that.
Oh, hi, baby. Oh, please. I want.
No, she does something funny.
Oh, okay. Oh.
The allure of the giant microphone is too much. It's her favorite.
She'll go like this. She'll do shush back, but then she'll like the finger will just doesn't matter where the finger is. She's like.
Oh, she's lost interest. She wants the microphone, exactly.
That's all she wants.
She
wants the microphone. She wants the headphones.
Oh, the baby! I'll tell you what. I got an 18-year-old now and a the baby and a 16-year-old now. And I heard all the crap they told me about how fast it goes, and they were right. I mean, it's like I'm waiting for some kind of, Cosmos episode from the new Seth MacFarlane going, this is why time speeds up when you have kids. I know. Yes, this discourse is so, yes. You can't even hear me. Your dad's like, you're a moron. You're a moron, Jaffe. I don't care. The babies are the cute things. We're live, by the way, little minnow. We are live. Yeah, I know.
Do your teeth hurt? Yeah. Do you want a banana?
Oh.
BP is banana.
Oh, nice. Oh, you got a banana. Look at you. I'll tell you what. It's amazing that's what brings joy at that age. Hopefully you should never lose it, but what are we talking about? Of course. Mama's making the banana. You gosh darn right, Minnow. Oh.
Is it good?
I'm just going to interview babies from now on. This is more fun.
Babies who can't hear you.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Hello, baby. Well, okay, we're live. Everybody knows this is Edmund McMillan.
This is so animated.
I know.
And this is Edmund. You are live with all the folks. Say hi, Edmund.
Hello.
Yeah, there you go.
And this is Minnow.
This is Minnow.
And my wife Danielle is off to the side.
Yes. Hello, Danielle.
There's some hair.
It is nice to meet you, Danielle. Good to see you. All right, we are going to start just gabbing about nonsense. Minnow, chime in, buddy, if you want to. Oh, well, there she goes. Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, is that the real Isaac? I don't think so. We're going to ask him all about that for sure.
This baby is 1 year old.
Yeah, Isaac's 5, right?
Isaac is 5, and he's 10.
Well, now he's 10, but I mean, does he age in the DLC?
He ages in Beyond the Grave.
Okay. How old is he? How old as he gets to, basically?
He gets to 5.
Oh, so he never gets beyond 5. Okay, I got you.
That's the end.
Well, okay.
Unless you do age Beyond the Grave, then.
Well, that would be cool. Did you ever read the Graveyard Book by gosh darn it?
If it's a book, I didn't read it.
No. Okay. Yeah. What's the guy's name? Neil Gaiman. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, all right, let me let the people know. Welcome to watching the show. This is Edmund. We're going to talk about Isaac and all the games he's made. More than that, we're not going to do one of these fucking retrospective things. And that's what I want to talk to you about right at the beginning. But so you know, put yourself into the call-in waiting room. A little bit later on in the show, we will have you call in and talk to good Sir Edmund. So here's my first question, which this is... I've been watching interviews with you. Because I knew of Super Meat Boy. I knew it through the video game, indie game, the movie. And then I got it on my Xbox, and I really enjoyed it for about 3 days, but it's too hard for me. Even back then, I was like, I can't fucking play this game. I love it, but there's no way I'm ever going to finish it, right? And then I played Isaac when it came out, which I think was what now? We're going on 10 years, 2012?
The anniversary is in this month. I think it's the end of this month.
Okay.
28th. It'll be 10 years.
And so I want to talk about that, but in watching these interviews with you from back then, there was a phrase you said to this guy, and you said, I'm more comfortable talking about my work and less about myself. And at first I was like, well, that may very well be because your work seems very autobiographical. So in making your work, you're kind of talking about yourself. But the reason I bring it up is usually, and again, I was practicing when I was dropping my kid off from school after I dropped her off. I was like, there's no way to ask this question without it sounding rude, but I'm going to ask it because I'm fascinated by it, which is usually when I do these interviews on this channel, I'm always reaching out to people. It's like, oh, hey, John Romero, Cliff Blazinski, Tim Schafer, whoever. In this case, I got a text or I got a DM from you. I talked to Cliff, and Cliff said, hey, you should have Edmund on. Edmund wants to be on your show. And then you reached out and said, when am I going to be on the fucking show? I think it's what you said. And I was like, and we had never met before. This is the first time we're meeting. It's wonderful to meet you.
That was nice of Cliff to say that because I didn't talk to him about that.
Oh.
Cliff has been like behind the scenes. He's been a major person in my life, which is so strange.
Okay.
He actually got me my Xbox deal.
Oh, really?
For Super Meat Boy.
Was he playing your Flash games and your earlier games? That's how he knew you?
Yeah, like I did I don't know, who knows when he came on. I actually put out a compilation disc of like an actual CD that I physically printed. I think I made 1,000 of them.
Okay.
And sold them off of our personal store. And I really pushed the fuck out of it. And that was back in the late, I was like 2000, was it 2008? 2008, 2009?
Yeah.
It got to be 2008 because it was 2 years of development for Super Meat Boy. So, but basically I put this stuff out and I was like, okay, I got to like make a name for myself. I've got all these games, but I don't know how to like, the most common thing back then was people would say, oh, I didn't know you made that. I thought you only made this.
Right.
And all these different games that I had made back then. And I put them all on a disc. I put all my comics on the disc. I put everything I did on this disc and I put it out. And I got in a Game Informer, which was pretty crazy because I was working a part-time at GameStop around that time too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And randomly Cliff Blazinski and somebody from the company's name, the BioShock company.
Ken Levine?
I don't know if it was him.
Okay.
It's like the bane of my existence because I can't search my old email to try to figure out who it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know who it was, and I wasn't, I knew who Cliff was, and he reached out and said that he got my CD and that it was cool, and I was like, do you have any contacts? I need some contacts somewhere. I want to do a console game because all my peers at that point were making console games.
Got it.
And he's like, I'll see what I can do. And both of them kind of like hooked me up with different people.
Okay. Well, look, he said, he's like, get Edmund on the show. I'm pretty much sure he said it, but it doesn't matter. The point is then you did reach out to me. And the reason it's interesting to me is because I know at the beginning of the summer, you guys were out. I saw a bunch of your interviews where you were out letting people know about, I think what's looking to be the final DLC of Isaac, which you launched, I think in June, if it was. But now that's kind of over, right? I mean, that push, that marketing, that's over. And so usually if somebody reaches out to me, it's like, hey, I got this thing coming out. Can we talk about it? But the fact that that's not the case, which is good for me because I usually don't do those traditional conversations. I mean, I'm happy to talk about anything you want to talk about, but it's more of a conversation and a shoot the shit than an actual promotion. I'm wondering, what do you want to talk about? Like, why did you say, Jaffe, I want to come on your show? Like, what is it about?
Mostly because I've just seen your stuff and it seemed fun, and I'm all about doing fun interviews and podcasts, and I just want to hang out and talk.
Good. Well, let's do that. I had somebody who I can't tell you I'll tell you off the air who his name is, but I've been trying to get him on the show. And he reached out to me and said, okay, well, let's have a conversation. So we did a Zoom conversation. We talked for about 2 hours, and it was a wonderful conversation. I had never had as long of a conversation with this guy in my life. but I'm like, okay, so was this a good pre-interview? Are you going to come on the show? He's like, oh no, I just wanted to just hang out and talk to you. He's like, I'm not coming on the show. I'm like, you motherfucker. He's great though. He's like, I'll come on it later. He's working on something right now. But okay, I want to talk about religion. Because I played. Okay, well, I'm all over the place. Let's talk about Issac first. So Issac, baffled me when I first played it because if I had played a roguelike or light back in the day, I didn't know what the fuck I was playing. So when I got to Issac and everybody was raving about it, I probably gave it about 15 minutes and I died a couple of times and I'm like, this is like Zelda without the overworld map. I don't know what I'm doing. Fuck it, I'm moving on.
That's my review from IGN when they gave me like a 7 point something.
Yeah, I didn't get the meta of it, right?
A lot of people didn't.
Right, and so so my first coming to it was that, and it's only recently when I knew we would be chatting and meeting that I'm like, well, I obviously want to go back and see what the fuss is because the fan base for Issac is insanely exciting and insanely big and passionate. And so I'm playing it, and my first, which I assume everybody's first assumption is that Issac is autobiographical about religion and religion in your life. And I guess there's a degree of truth to that, but it's more about your parents' divorce. Am I understanding this correct? Like the essence of what that game is about?
Yeah, I'd say, well, I mean, obviously it's autobiographical to a point. It's pretty abstract, but yeah, I mean, originally going in, I kind of wanted to just make a game about how religion can affect an outcast, especially a creative person who can like obsess over things mentally and kind of bring themselves down. And, kind of a retelling of some of the stuff that I've done in the past where a kid descends into his imagination, which may not be the kindest place. And that's kind of what I started. It was just almost like a conversation about religion with myself. Like, what did I get out of it? Because I going in, I mean, I had 7 years of catechism. My grandmother was extremely Catholic, and my dad was born again Christian.
Wow.
And the McMillan side of the family were all like recovering addict Christian hardcore folk. And I did not fit in there.
Wait, when you say recovering, your dad was born again, but he was out of it by the time you were a kid? When you say it was recovering, or you mean he was an addict like alcohol?
He was a recovering addict of drugs and alcohol.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
That's what pushed him towards religion. I think they were somewhat religious back in the day. I mean, they were like a very stereotypical Irish family.
Okay. Okay.
There was a lot of drinking and singing and
that's kind of
child abuse.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Okay. It's a terrible situation. It wasn't a nice family.
Right.
It was pretty hardcore, and then they all kind of got born again, and the addiction became Jesus.
How old were you when that happened? Did you see the transformation of when they went from being alcoholics and drug addicts to being
to be more fun.
We don't have to be. I don't have to be. Look, religion fascinates me. I want to talk to you about this Tripwire guy who just stepped down as CEO of his company in a second. But I'm sure you're aware of what's going on with that, right?
No.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But keep going. So how old were you when this transformation happened for your family?
5.
Oh, you were Issac. Okay.
Yeah.
So was that fucking terrifying? Was God even a presence in your life before you were 5 and suddenly your dad comes home?
My grandma, like I said, she was like super devout Catholic. So I went to Catholic church since I was very, very little. And then when my mom and dad split, due to his, drug use, he recovered. He went to recovery and then he came out, he's a pastor currently.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow. Then this. Okay. The reason when I watched your interviews, I was like, oh, maybe religion's just kind of a background, but to hear this, yeah, okay. This is baked into the cake deep, baby. All right, keep going. He
recovered. I mean, and I remember being young and thinking like, would I have rather had a somewhat more exciting drug addicted father or somebody who is super obsessed with a religion. And I think in the back in the day was like, oh, you know, I wish he was just fun and, you know, maybe died early. But now it's kind of like I'm grateful for the fact that he chose to move away from that. And
right,
you know, when you're young and angsty and you hate everything, like it's very easy to just kind of dismiss somebody like that. But I respect my father at this point in time in my life.
Did he come home and tell you, like, you know, if you don't do X, Y, Z? Because I was born in the I was born in the South, so I have friends that were like Southern Baptist, and it would be like, you know, the fire and brimstone version, like you are going to burn in hell with your skin ripped off and all this shit.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole family was kind of like that, but it was like my mom used to get phone calls from him because he was a weekend dad, you know, every other weekend, and he would be like convinced that I was gay, and you know, tell my mom what are we gonna do and blah blah blah, and yeah, it was just all because I just offended somebody that he was, you know, talking shit about essentially.
And that made you gay?
That made me gay.
I should have told all my gay friends who were like, when they were struggling with coming out, it's like, you shouldn't have said that nice thing about, you know, the Saved by the Bell cast. I don't know what it was you were defending, but I'm just like, okay. So are you religious now?
No.
Okay. Are you atheist, agnostic? It's none of my business. I don't care. I'm asking.
Agnostic, but I've been told that they're the same thing if you look it up. That's what a friend of mine.
A lot of people have different views on. They get very upset with me because I say I'm atheist agnostic, and they're like, "You can't be that." I'm like, "Well, I definitely am atheist when it comes to the traditional gods that we've been told are out there. I'm agnostic in the sense that I don't fucking know what's out there."
I say I'm agnostic because I don't want to say I'm atheist because there are negative connotations that come with that. Most people will assume that you're like this pompous asshole who is very judgmental, which I'm not.
Right.
And so I don't, but really I don't. But I mean, I'd like there to be something, you know, and I don't know what happens. So I guess I'm agnostic.
Do you do drugs?
I don't do drugs.
You should do some drugs.
I don't do drugs.
I know, but you should do some.
I don't want to.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I've done drugs.
What drugs have you done? Come on,
I've done mushrooms.
Okay, you've done mushrooms and you're done? Listen,
yeah, it was fucking terrible. It was a nightmare.
That will. All I can tell you is when I don't do drugs a lot at all. I was high this weekend, but that said, I don't do drugs a lot. But that said, though, that has been the most spiritual experience I've had, is mind-altering chemicals coming through my system, where I have literally had experiences where I think something that I call God, even though I don't believe in traditional God, was speaking to me, right? And I don't know if it's real or not. It's probably just chemical bullshit. But
well, I mean, I feel I understand that, and to some degree, I get that through meditation, and I also more so through art, and just in general. Like I feel those feelings when I'm being creative and like living in the moment creatively.
What kind of meditation do you do?
Transcendental meditation.
How often?
Not that often, since the baby was born.
Right. Okay. But it's
I wish I could do it a lot more.
It's life changing, right? I mean, it's staggering, and people. I wish more people. I saw schools were like trying to get meditation in, and then people were all offended because it was like that's a gateway drug into Satanism or Hinduism, or I'm just like, dude. Yeah. Every kid in America needs to meditate.
Well, it's kind of a shitty thing when it comes to transcendental meditation because I did the course and everything, which is very expensive.
Oh yeah, and very exhausting
and very religious. And that's the thing is the meditation has zero to do with it.
Yes,
and they're really glomming those things together. And I feel like if it was just explained meditation using those techniques, like it would go a lot further than if it was something tied to a religion, which has no significance over the meditation.
It doesn't. I think maybe the reason some people like, I'm not religious and stuff, but I would say meditation, when you're really kind of in that zone and you start to sort of lose the sense of you and you become just I think that probably is a religious experience or a spiritual experience. And
but not so much an organized religious experience.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And there's dangers when it comes to that. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I don't like about it, is just that I wish it wasn't so attached to an organized religion.
I didn't learn it through that. I learned it through a secular group of Buddhist people who teach it, but not with the religious aspect of it. So that was really helpful.
They said I had to sit down and we had to. Me and my wife both did it, and we had to watch this dude talk nonsense for fucking hours.
Oh Lord,
It was
yeah,
terrible.
Have you ever cried when you're meditating?
I think I've come out very emotional multiple times.
Yeah.
But no, not like a full purge sort of situation.
Yeah. Yeah. But it can be emotional. I was just wondering if other people had experienced that aspect of it.
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, when we started meditating, it was like the darkest of the dark times, and it was just my anxiety is crazy. It's gotten so much better since meditating.
Yeah.
And I was at a point where I was like, back in the day, I have like mild agoraphobia, which almost is gone at this point. But there were times where I couldn't leave the house without vomiting and feeling like I was going to pass out. And it was getting bad again.
It doesn't sound like mild agoraphobia.
Well, I mean, I have it now.
It mild exists, now.
It exists in me.
Yeah.
It wasn't mild then. But it was fleeting. I pushed myself through. You know, you can't live like that. But of course, my wife helps. But it was getting bad again, and things were getting really tough. And we decided to just do it. And the only thing that was pushing me away from it was the religious aspect. But I was able to kind of just see through it and just get the info, learn how to do it, and then once I was confident, kind of let go. And after like 2 months, I had somehow forgotten about my fears. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like I don't know, it really feels like you're flushing the toilet when it comes to bad subliminal
here
thoughts.
we go with the poop. I knew it was coming. Listen, about that though, when I was meditating a lot, I know people who listen to people talk about meditation who haven't done it. It's unfortunate because it sounds like you're talking about Jedi training, like you're going to float and shit. And it's nothing like that at all. But I was able to have like really painful dental work done with no medicine at all, with no anesthetic at all, because you're just able to separate yourself from the moment. And you're aware it hurts. You have that awareness, but to simply be aware of the pain and just label it for what it is and get back to your breathing. I'm like, this is an amazing gift, but it's so difficult to maintain. Unfortunately.
Life will come in. I remember talking to the people there and being like, you got to do it twice. Because when I could do it twice a day, 20 minutes each time, like, life was so much easier. But now it's like, oh my God, I wish I could do it once a day. Like, I wish I could find that 20 minutes to just go and sit somewhere and do it. But it's just, I'm going to get back to it, and life is manageable at this point. It's stressful, but manageable.
Your dad, has he played Isaac? Does he know what Isaac is?
My dad installed Isaac on all of the computers at the church for the lock-in that he did for,
So how was he not offended by it? I mean,
because he says it's by the Bible. It references the Bible. It's a biblical game.
Okay.
I told him, I said, it doesn't really frame religion in the best light. And
right.
He said, no, but it's by the book.
Okay. Does he know you are Isaac?
I think, in a lot of ways, my father is also Isaac.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh. So has he processed all that shit, or no? His dad was probably an addict as well, I imagine.
Yeah, he was a huge alcoholic.
Oh,
he died because of drinking.
Right. Well, it's nice to break the chain. It's clear that, you and your kids are going to have already do have a very different relationship. So, yay for therapy and yay for all that shit, man. You ever get called a soy boy, Edmund?
I've never been called a soy boy.
Well, that's, you will. Don't worry. It's it's coming. But yeah, people make fun of people who go to therapy and meditate and all that. That's fucking how you survive in this fucking world. I want to ask you about this. You talked to an interviewer once and you said, You got a little obsessed after, I want to say it was after Meat Boy and after Super Meat Boy and after the indie game, the movie. And I think this is before Isaac was out, I think. And you were like, I've kind of taken to searching myself up on the internet. And I love this, what you said. You said, I kind of remember being back in high school and I wish that I could Google myself, or I wish that I had a technology that I could put my name in and hear what people were talking about me, like in the halls and what the kids were saying about me. And lo and behold, here we are. And, be careful what you wish for. There was a period, which was a great line, but there was a period in your life, and I was just curious about it, because where you said you had to cut off all social media, all connection with fans of your work, because it was getting in the way of your creativity, correct? Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, and it's still a struggle. It's still... I still need to take breaks. Like, I just did that Kickstarter, which was, so it's like this total double-edged sword where it's very fun.
Yeah.
And I really like it. And I can see that people love it. I can see that the fans love it. And I love that they love it. And I love to interact with people. But it is so draining. I'm just not that type of person. Like, I can do stuff like this in little spurts. And I like one-on-one exchanges. I hate talking at something.
Right.
Like when I'm just talking, like, oh my God, like I could never stream. All the streams that I did afterwards, I was just like, and I felt so much guilt because I want to be, and I could see in the comments, people would be like, oh, you look tired, get some sleep. And it's just like, they can see, I cannot hide it. I cannot hide my lack of, enjoyment in the situation. But at the end of that month-long, marathon, it was grueling, and I had to take a break, and I took about a month off, and I've just now, this is kind of like breaking my break.
Right. So you're still back. You're still keeping an eye on how much you interface and engage with the world through social media then.
Yeah. I think I can feel it now, almost subconsciously.
Like when it's too much?
Yeah. When it's too much, and I just like, I can't do it.
Right.
I'm even feeling it now with just general, like, I have like a custom feed on Reddit, but stuff will still slip through, just like politics and just bad shit, and I just can't.
Do you search your name anymore?
No.
I do all the time. All the time. Cuz I'm curious. I mean, I'm absolutely fascinated and curious. And it's if we go back to transcendental meditation to some extent, it's kind of it's sort of the next gen version of like when the monks would go up on the hill and they would meditate around the monks who had died that were rotting, and sort of to meditate on death and impermanence and all that stuff. It's kind of like I search my name because anything that comes up, most of it I don't care about, and it just goes through one ear out the other. But every now and then something hits me and it's like, oh, that mean comment hurt. And I'm like, and I'm grateful for it, because I'm like, there's something there I need to learn. There's something they're saying that, even though, yeah, they're a dick, fuck them personally, what are they saying that my soul is responding to that may actually be something I need to do some work on,
I totally understand that too. Yeah. Like I feel like that kind of really terrible feedback, when you look at it in a certain way, you can actually get a good amount of information on how to improve, not only as a person, but as an artist, as a trader or whatever. Yeah. And I definitely did that a great deal, but I stopped because the thing that would catch me up and would actually be detrimental to my mental health was me getting angry at someone.
Oh, on the internet? Like you'd lash out?
Yeah. And it's always misinformation. It's somebody saying something that is completely and utterly false.
Yeah.
And somebody else replies with, "Oh yeah," and then I know that like there's two people now, and then there's probably 100 people who read those, and then they're gonna carry that information into the next article that was written about me. So I stopped looking back then because it felt hopeless. And I would even, like, whenever I do an interview or whenever like this, I would go out of my way to thank fans that correct people that are misinformed.
That's a great idea. Yeah. I see that all the time.
Because I can't, not only can I not like go in there and do that, I can't pull a John Blow and go into comments and be like, actually,
right,
you're incorrect. I can't fight the internet. So I kind of rely on people that care enough about me to correct somebody's misinformation and then just have to move on. But I'm at a point where I don't actually care until I, of course, see it.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Let me ask about the fans. I mean, I was aware of the success of Issac, certainly Meat Boy. It wasn't until I started researching to prepare to talk to you that I was like, not only I know you have a lot of fans, but there's a level of sort of passion that your fan base has that is unusual in terms of, I mean, even amongst like, not bigger names, but I mean, names that are on games that are like not sort of indie darlings like Issac, but things that have, are on TV all the time and shit like that. But your fan base seems, it's very personal, it seems. And I'm wondering, do you think that's because the autobiographical nature of your work and they connect with it, or what do you think that's about? And do you even agree? Do you even agree that they're more rabid?
I do agree, and to to a fault. I mean, that's another thing too. Is like sometimes when people will be like, the stuff that I do see is, of course, when people tweet at me, when people will be like mad at me that Issac isn't released on a certain console, or the update's not up yet, and even though I said it would be up at the end of the last month, and they're so angry. But I understand that is also the passion. That is, if you didn't care about something so much, then you wouldn't care at all about tweeting something with so much passion behind it.
Right.
So I can totally understand that. But as for why, I can't say for sure. There's always there's the hopes of why. I always hope that people like my work because it is honest. And I do try my best not to market to a person. And I just make what I think I would enjoy, especially as a kid, and just be as brutally honest as I can and have as much fun with it as I can in hopes that people will experience the same. That's it. I mean, that's all I can really do. And I really do enjoy what I do. Like I wouldn't, it's the there's my wife and family, and then there's my work, and my work is definitely something that I don't have to do anymore, and I'm doing it because I love to do it, and I hope that comes through in some way,
Well, I think
feel it.
Let me ask you about that, because there was a point in my career where I was very focused on the audience, and I wanted them to be happy, and I wanted them to love me, and I wanted them to buy my shit. And so I was obsessed with focus tests, not focus groups, but like play tests and is this fun? Are you bored? Rate this on a scale of 1 to 10. I would jump through every hoop you put in front of me to make your time with our game better. And I think obviously that allowed me to have a level of success that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Once I got enough success and frankly enough money and enough security, I started going, I don't even know how conscious it was, where I'm just going to make shit that I think is cool. And none of it's been that successful, right? And what I wonder is, when you say you make stuff just for you that you would have liked as a kid, does that stop at the theming and the art and the idea, but when you're tuning it, you're very aware of your audience and what they want? Or does it go from the very first idea of what this game's going to be all the way to sort of difficulty tuning and accessibility tuning? Like where does that desire, that sort of selfish creative desire end, or does it?
Well, I'm very critical of my own work.
Yeah.
Like usually if I get reviews, I would review, my numbers would be lower than the average review score. And I feel like I'm a pretty realistic person when it comes to everything. And I go in selfishly because that's where I'm getting all my juice from, right?
Yeah.
So I go in selfishly. And then when I get to a point where all of my selfish desires have been, satiated, I'm like, okay, well, I want to watch people play this, and I want to see where they smile, where they frown, where they get frustrated, where they stop, and I take notes, and I do that as much as I can with your average people, even non-gamers. And then I tweak and tune to make sure that those rough edges are not as sharp as originally. And then I just put it out. I feel like I have a pretty good sense of what works and what doesn't. I'm sometimes wrong, of course, obviously. But with something like Issac's expansions, totally after the remake, and when I'm working on DLCs, I'm 100% thinking about fans also.
Like, okay, because you've already made the game.
It's already
you.
Yeah. It's already done. So I'm thinking about fanfare. I'm thinking about what would the fan base love, what would I love as a fan of my own game, and how to fluff up what's there. And I play off expectations. Like I know what people expect, and I want to go further without them realizing that I'm going further, so they expect further. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's a lot of like meta design bullshit that kind of goes into that, which is fun in itself, but it's never as fun as there's little bits and pieces, like the stuff that I enjoy the most with Issac. I do like creating items. I like making stuff based on random things from my childhood, like random objects and things that were significant to me, and then making them work in the game. I really like the story. I like telling it through your actions. I like peppering it in a way that feels like you're solving a puzzle, a very abstract storytelling with the items that you pick up. Like every little bit and piece is painting this picture for this person going in that gets their kind of unique perspective on kind of what's happening. And I really enjoy that stuff a lot. So I really still enjoyed working on all the DLC stuff. Obviously, I wouldn't have done it if I didn't enjoy it.
Right.
But yeah, I very much enjoyed the past 10 years of Issac.
Right. And is Issac, I mean, let me ask, I know this is going to sound like a stupid question, but I ask because I feel this way, but do you feel in some ways, I know he's not, but do you feel Issac is real? Do you love Issac? Like, do you have with my creations, and again, my creations are our creations. It's not like you who made a game with a handful of people, where there were hundreds of us sometimes, but I still look at them as my creations, and I hope some of the key guys and girls on the team feel the same. But I look at Kratos, I look at Sweet Tooth as mine, and I feel a affinity for them, and I feel a sense that it might almost be like the psychological concept of like inner child. Like when I think of Kratos, there's a sense that he is me. I mean, do you have that kind of relationship where you're like, Jaffe, you've done too much drugs? I mean, what, you know what I'm saying? Because it's
I don't. All of my characters, and this, it's kind of, I almost feel like it's one day I'm going to be a skilled enough artist to write outside myself. But as of now, I feel like I can only write from my own perspective. And literally every character that I've ever made is me in just some aspect of who I am.
Right.
Like even like Meat Boy and Dr. Fetus and all that sort of stuff too. It's like, you know, Meat Boy is me, you know, my wife is Band-Aid Girl, you know, Dr. Fetus is the issue that kept us apart. You know, there's just I can't help but do that, because how else could I make something personal enough for me to invest years of my life
Why
into?
would you want to? I mean,
exactly.
You know,
I can't. It has to be. And I usually tend to write from like my perspective as a kid too, like, you know, when magic was real and that sort of stuff.
Right.
So,
what I'm less familiar with Meat Boy than I am with Issac and Bumbo. It's Bumbo. It's not Bimbo, but I call him Bimbo. I don't know why.
it looks like Bimbo.
But what do you mean Dr. Fetus kept you and your wife apart, metaphorically?
Well, I mean, the whole original theme of Meat Boy and Dr. Fetus and Band-Aid Girl was basically my wife getting pregnant when we were young, and then not having the baby.
Okay.
And that kind of like was
you mean having an abortion?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. And that was an issue, and Dr. Fetus was the parents and all that shit?
No, well, Dr. Fetus was the fetus. It was the thing that put a you know, it broke my wife for a good amount of time, you know, and that was the constant uphill battle. Like, and you know, things got better after a few years, but it was a very difficult decision, and something that I think that really made everything that much more difficult and made me lose somebody who I felt like was the most important thing in my life. And not only the most important thing in my life, but like I felt like like my wife was my skin, and without her I was so raw and exposed, and I needed her back. And that's what the whole story was originally. I'm not part of the group anymore. I can't say what the new story is.
Oh, right. No, I'm transfixed. The fans are probably watching going, yeah, we know Jaffe. I didn't know that. That's brilliant. It's, you know, like Jay-Z says, my pain, your entertainment. I mean, I'm sorry I'm enjoying it so much. But
I mean, that wasn't something I ever talked about at all in the first 7 years of, you know, releasing the game.
But when you're designing Meat Boy, it's a conscious representation of this is me as vulnerable as one can get without my skin, because this is what it felt like. Yeah,
it was kind of just, well, I wanted to do the traditional stupid trope, you know, the Mario trope of you know, princess and hero, right?
Right.
But I wanted to make it more real to me, and it's the relationship that I have with my wife, I feel like goes to this other level where like I'm not a full person without her there, and without her there I'm just this terrible bleeding mess. And
you feel that way now or then?
Always.
You think that's healthy, Edmund?
No.
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 Yeah.
No, not at all. But you know,
we live in a culture that celebrates that. I mean, that's the challenging part of our culture, especially for people who are sensitive and artistic, right? Which is there is something about people like you and to some extent me, that because we wear our hearts on our sleeve and we're emotional and we're in touch with that aspect, a lot of people celebrate that, and it should be celebrated. But at the same time, sometimes it's like the messages that kids get sent. When you think about like romantic comedies, I don't know what movies you grew up watching, but my mom loved romantic comedies. My whole idea of what romance was until I was like in college was totally shaped by stupid fucking romantic comedies that were like, this is not what anybody wants from you. What are you doing? I'm like, well, that's what happened in the fucking, you know, 16 Candles. It's like, yeah, it was a movie, you idiot. I mean, what did you watch as a kid? What influenced you?
Horror movies.
Like what? Because I think you're like 10 years younger than I am, right? So you were watching.
I'm 40.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be 42.
Okay, so I'm 50. So we're ish the same.
I grew up watching trauma movies, Toxic Avenger, Evil Dead, Dead Alive, bunch of zombie movies back in the day, and then later in life, I got into Alejandro Jodorowsky's stuff and David Lynch and lots of good, weird movies.
I think I saw you say that you let your daughter, you showed her a horror movie, right?
She's seen a couple.
And I took my child to see Godzilla on the big screen when she was less than a year old, because I used to live over in LA, and there was a theater by our house, and I was walking her because I was letting my wife get some sleep, and they were showing Godzilla. I'm like, I'm going to make the first movie experience of my kid's life Godzilla. That's brilliant. You know, she was there for 3 minutes and shit everywhere. And I'm like, I had to take her home. But you showed your daughter, who's 5 now, a horror movie when she was really young. And that was, you were, at least that's what the interview said.
What was that?
It was on an interview. You were talking about taking your daughter.
I'm trying to think of what I might have shown her. I mean, well, when she was like 3 and stuff, we were watching Beetlejuice and Elvira.
Oh, okay, Beetlejuice. That's what it was.
That sort of stuff too.
Did that freak her out or no?
No, she's not scared of. She sleepwalks, which is frightening.
Yep.
She's the things that she wakes up screaming about are like when she was little, the infamous nightmare. And I think this is probably the story I probably told. Like, we saw a horror movie, we go to bed, me and Danielle were like, oh my God. Oh no, this is what it was. I was watching those low-end, totally fine Elvira, you know, Beetlejuice style Labyrinth, you know, like kids movies.
Kid horror, yeah.
And then Danielle's like, we should watch Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. And I said, no, it's scary.
We should watch it with the kid?
Yeah,
Oh
we should
my
watch
God.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. It's funny. Because my wife's it's funny. But there's an aspect of dread, which isn't in those other movies that's like, oh my, this is horrific, right? And like right in the beginning, it's the girl running into his house and like she's running through like sludge and she's carrying the little girl and then the girl turns into a skeleton. You know, and it was like, oh shit, turn this off. We turn it off.
Right.
And she goes to bed and we're like, oh my God, she's totally gonna have a nightmare, and she did. And then when she wakes up and we're like, oh, you know, were you scared of the movie? And she's like, no. What are you dreaming about? She's like, well, I had a dream that I was eating a cookie and the bird stole it. She was screaming.
Like that is scary. That is scary.
And she's still to this day, like if she ever has a nightmare and you ask her what it is, and it's something like a kid at school was taking away my pencil. You know, it's
well,
like,
okay, but this is what I did want to ask you about this seriously, because it's like it's a trope and a cliche, blah blah blah. But I think there's some proof or there's a reason it's a cliche, which is the more challenges you have mentally growing up, the chances of you becoming someone who feels the need to sort of express that through one of the arts is higher. And I was thinking about, and I'm sure you've been asked this before, but it's like, okay, if you go back to Isaac, you're taking a break now, and let's say you do go back to Isaac in 20 years, and it's like, this is Isaac as a dad, this is sort of who he is as a man now or whatever. Isaac's kid would probably be like, here's the story of, the binding of Isaac Jr. and he's just kind of hanging out with his friend. And he's like, I'm good, Dad. It's like, cause I mean, once you've healed, right? I mean, do you find in your daughter the same kind of creative spark and whatnot that you have? Or is she just like, because you're saying her dreams are her nightmares are like, a kid took my pencil. And when I was a kid, it was like, it was a demon looking at me in a car window, and I heard in my head the voice of the demon going, I can't hold it, I can't hold it, I can't hold it, I can't hold it. And suddenly the teeth exploded and this tongue burst out and started like licking all over me, and I woke up screaming, and I was like 5. I'm like, that was my nightmare. And she's like, kid took my pencil. She seems on a track to health, is all I'm saying. And
it is weird. It's weird. And me and my wife talk about this a lot. It's weird because my wife, obviously, I mean, I grew up very poor, and it was not a great childhood.
Yeah.
And my wife had it even worse. And with the situation that we're in, even the house that we're in, like the life that my daughter has is so far from not only my upbringing, but echo, the best possible life that anybody in my whole family in the past has ever had.
Right.
This is the peak.
Right.
And it's like, it's this whole other world. And it's like, how is this gonna change? Is this gonna stifle her creativity, not being horribly abused?
But it might. But one could argue that creativity is not something to aspire to. One could argue
a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
it's quite possible. But the thing is she is very creative, and she's a big weirdo when it comes to the stuff that she's creative about. She is obsessed with doing voices and pretending to be other people, specifically severely handicapped kids. She likes watching lots of videos of kids with severe problems, and then she likes to pretend that she's them, and then explains to me. She's always like,
she's fucked up. She's fucked up.
My name is. Ask me what my name is. And I'm like, what's your name? And she's like, I'm Marla. And it's like, oh, Marla. And she's like, Marla has no feet, but her parents love her very much. And that's it. And then she's Marla, and she's crawling around or whatever else.
Oh my God, dude!
So she can do voices like perfect.
That kid is going to get canceled in kindergarten. That should be the name of her movie. Canceled in kindergarten.
She's very careful about it. There's a really other interesting thing with kids. It's like, you would think that they would not know like what's appropriate, what is appropriate in certain situations. But my daughter really reads the room and knows when there's something that she should or shouldn't say.
Right.
But yeah, she went to this Montessori school before she's now in kindergarten.
Right.
And she would come home and she would say, I'm Harper Millie. I'm Harper Millie, and she'd do this really weird voice that seems so specific. And it was like, okay, whatever. It's one of 1,000 characters, right?
Right.
And then one day we pick her up from school, and I hear her doing the voice, and it sounded very strange. And I hope to God that no parent is listening to this.
So what did she say?
So she's doing this voice, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm like, Peach, don't do that voice. And then right when I look over to find her, I see a different kid, and I hear Mom go, Harper, get over to the car.
Oh no.
she's doing not at school. She's doing the voice exactly of this little girl that she's pretending to be when she's here, and we didn't even realize it. And I never thought of it because I didn't think any kid talked like that.
Is Harper Millie disabled?
She's not. She just has this.
Okay, that would make it like 10 times worse. If Harper had no feet and arms, it's like,
it's just a way of speaking. And to the point where if we go to a park, my wife you'll see her go like, she's playing with a little kid and the little kid has any sort of lisp or speech impediment or anything else, because we know for a fact that that's the voice we're going to hear for the next day or two.
Oh,
that's the voice. That's it.
Wonderful. Yeah. Kids are weird as fuck. I love it. Okay, that threw me, but I got to get back on track. Come on, Edmund. Come on now.
Yeah, I don't think that this interview is going to be much on track with two people like us.
That I don't care. It's fun. So I wanted to ask you about. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Okay, so you own Issac. Right?
Yeah.
There's no publisher involved in this. This is your creation, your IP.
Well, there is a publisher involved. So the story was essentially this. I made this game in Flash, and Flash is trash.
Okay.
Flash is trash. Why didn't that catch on? And I didn't think I would be able to sell this thing, and especially I wouldn't think I would be able to put it on Steam, but Steam was fine with doing it, and this was before it was automated.
Right.
And it became huge. And excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, this has so much potential. And we did an expansion. And then in trying to do that expansion, it ended up taking like twice as long as the development of the game. So the Binding of Isaac only took 3 months of development.
The first one that went on Steam originally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the DLC took 6 months of development, mostly because the files would just crash. The FLA files would just fall apart.
Okay.
It wasn't holding together, but we were able to finish that. And we couldn't ever do another expansion. And I had all these ideas that I wanted to do for an expansion. And the company Nicholas came to me. They wanted to port Time Fuck, which is a game I did in the past.
I played it. It's good. It's really good.
I like that game. And I
didn't know you were supposed to call it Time Fuck. It was just time, and then all the. And I was like, I don't know what I'm calling this, but I like it.
But basically, they were like, we'll port the original game, so we can put it on console. And I was like, oh, that sounds fucking cool. So they were porting the original game, and I just wasn't happy with the idea of it just being the original game, and I wanted to do an expansion on that. So it became a bigger project, and that was me working with a team. So that was one of the first times I actually worked with a small group of people to kind of get it where I wanted it.
Right.
And then since then I've worked with that publisher on doing, the DLCs.
But you've maintained ownership of the intellectual property. Okay. So, I assume people have come to you about movies and TV and other things. Is that just not in your interest, or nothing has made sense yet?
Well, the funny story is that a lot of people approach me about a bunch of different stuff to do with the IP, of course. And they see, especially after like Kickstarters that are successful and stuff like that, they see money next to an IP and they want to do something with it. And one of the first was this company called Studio 71 who wanted to make a board game. They wanted to license the IP to make a board game. And I was like, hell no. It seemed like the dumbest thing in the world. But they planted that seed of like, and then it happens to me quite often where something will be planted there and I'll take it as a challenge. Like, well, am I saying fuck off because I don't have a good enough idea? And could I have a good enough idea? and it kind of like went from there. And I ended up contacting them a year later and being like, okay, I have an idea for a card game, a Binding of Isaac card game.
Right.
Are you guys still interested? And then we did that. So that actually became a thing. But yeah, I've been contacted about, Netflix shows and possible movie and whatever else. But it's never anything. The person says like The Blinding of Isaac or something like that. And
Okay.
I'm like, if you don't know what's going on at all, then I don't trust you with my best interest.
Understood. Okay, that's fair. The card game, which I have not played, but I hear that is fucking amazing. People, what is it called? 4 Souls?
4 Souls, yeah.
People love that thing. I didn't even know there was a card game until last week, and I got to order it now because people are like, it's like up there. And I always thought when I was designing, I would like to do card games and board games, but I just didn't have the brain for the design part of it. And I was very heartened to hear you say that a lot of your analog games that you've worked on, I guess you've worked on 2 now?
Yeah.
Both of them were based off other games that you just gave it your spin. Because I always had this sense that I had to reinvent the wheel. I couldn't just
I think all my games I've ever made are just something that I liked with my own spin.
Yeah, really. I mean that's probably most games. Do you consider yourself more of an artist or a designer? I mean, what do you enjoy more?
Well, what do you define? Are you defining art as illustration?
Illustration, yeah.
Okay, better. I'm way better. I'm a better designer than I am an illustrator. I'm at the point where I'm hiring other people I'm at the point where I'm hiring fans who draw kind of like me to do my style better.
Okay, fair.
But when it comes to design, so my current and only project right now is Mugenics.
Yep.
And that was a idea that I started almost 10 years ago, and then it stopped after like 9 months, and now I've picked it back up again with Tyler, with a new programmer, and I'm doing as much as I can, but I'm at the point now where I do need artists to help me do this stuff, and when it comes to, so I'm no longer doing full animations. I have an animator that's animating, and he's better than me. So,
okay.
But what I do is I end up, so I do all the character design is like very important.
Right.
Character design, writing, game design. Those are like my 3. I would say general design and character design are the most 2 important things to me, because I love character design, as I assume you do as well. Like, I just love it. And I'm very controlling when it comes to my character design. And just general design. Those are the things that I think I'm the best at, that I do enjoy the most. And then probably storytelling. Illustration's not high up there. I kind of enjoy it, but.
Okay. So you're not, because I also saw that you want to do a comic book. You want to do an autobiographical comic book. You started your game career, I read, where you were kind of going, the only reason I even got on, I think it was Newgrounds or whatever, was I want to do an interactive comic. Are you an avid comic reader? I mean, do you enjoy the form, or?
I do, but I'm not all over the place. So like, I grew up with, when I was in 5th grade, I found an R. Crumb comic.
Oh yeah. Wow. Okay.
Which was seated inside of a Mad Magazine comic, which now makes that teacher very questionable, especially thinking back to how they were. But
oh really? Okay.
Yeah. But so I was really into Mad Magazine.
Of course.
And I was really into what I had of R. Crumb. I was really into any kind of weird. There was a lot of like indie adult themed skater mags around Santa Cruz and stuff like that. I didn't skate. I have no interest, but I liked the comics.
Right.
And then I got into the Max, Sam Keith. In general, I was really into the Max. I collected comics, but I never got into any of the superhero comics.
Okay.
I really loved Lobo.
Yeah, Lobo's the shit, man.
Yeah. Original Lobo. It doesn't get much better than that.
No. Lobo, there is no Kratos without Lobo, I don't think.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Lobo and Wolverine.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Lobo, Wolverine, and I think there's like 3 other ones. He's one of the key DNA pillars of Kratos. Absolutely.
Yeah, Lobo is amazing. I mean, I hope that one day there will be an R-rated Lobo movie in the future.
There has to be. They did it. They brought him on to some CW show. No, it was
Yeah,
it was Krypton, or it was some show that ran for a season or two, and Lobo was on it, but he was like some good-looking CW guy that was still dressed like Lobo, and I was like, that's not Lobo. Lobo is like, go out and get, you know, Mickey fucking Rourke when he was in The Wrestler and make him, you know, that's fucking Lobo, a little younger, but... okay, I want to talk about the End is Nigh real quick. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. I'm not going to get to them all, but the one thing I couldn't find, there were sort of two mysteries about you. Whenever I interview somebody, I'm like, I have this little running tab of, I don't know why I can't find any more data on this topic. One of them is, and maybe it's out there, I didn't do a good enough job, but I hear you talk about End is Nigh, there was a lot of talk about, I was thinking about getting out of the business. I wasn't going to make games anymore. It was a dark period of my life. The game is the most autobiographical game I've ever made. But what was, you know, and don't speak about it at length, A, if you don't want to, obviously, but B, if it's already out there and I just missed it, because the people listening are like, yeah, we know the story, Jaffe. But what, have you talked about what was so rough when you made that game? Like, what was happening that was so bad? Because I couldn't find that real life analog.
My wife had a seizure, and I found her that way, and it was really terrible.
You found her when she was in the process?
She was unconscious.
Okay.
She was unconscious. And I had no idea what was going on. It was a very scary situation.
Had she ever had a seizure before?
No.
Okay.
No, and never again, hopefully.
Yeah.
And they couldn't figure out. They say sometimes people just randomly have seizures. But that traumatic event kind of leaned into the end of Team Meat as far as me being in part of it or whatever. And those kind of two things made me question what I was getting out of this. And if it was worth continuing, because I felt like I wasn't living real life enough. And we decided to have a baby after the seizure. And because we'd been putting that off for forever. And having the baby kind of changed my perspective on everything. So it was like this trauma, new life, then questioning everything and feeling like, I guess, the glimmer of hope for the future, and then wondering if maybe I shouldn't continue. Super Meat Boy was abstractly about how much sacrifice and how hard it is, and how it's worth it in the end when you continue to self-sacrifice and get to where you need to be. Okay. And then the end is nigh is questioning that if that is something that is viable always, and if it's worth it. So it's a much darker kind of retelling of Super Meat Boy in some way. Like, you know, if you look at it abstractly, you could say that like the end is nigh is Super Meat Boy if Band-Aid Girl never existed.
Oh, okay. Well, I will never finish The End is Nigh because I'm
no.
What happens at the end? I mean, what is the takeaway of the story when it wraps up?
The world ends.
Oh, well, because the end is nigh. I understood. Truth in advertising. Okay, I understand. So I'm thinking, because when you say you found your wife that way, it reminds me. I remember when I was married at the time, and me and my wife had awful food poisoning, and I found her on the floor, lying in water, and her eyes were wide open, and I thought she was dead. I was just like this, and it was just, I had about a moment of like 3 minutes where I'm like, I'm calling 911. The kids are upstairs sleeping. I'm like, I have to tell them their mother has died. That's all I could think of. And it's just shocking and terrifying. And especially when you see somebody lying there and their eyes are open, you're like, they're gone, you know? Yeah. And it turned out she had just passed out and her eyes were open, and she sat up and she's like, what are you doing? What's the problem? So it threw me when you told me that, but the reason also is because, do you know the reason that she was in a puddle of water?
because she peed?
No, and this is something your family needs to sort of embrace. I'm tired of it, Edmund. They're called bidets. Get some fucking bidets. I
have a bidet. I've used it once.
I heard you go on for 10 minutes on an interview about how different people wipe their butts. And I'm sitting there going, dude, no, you don't ever wipe your butt. I mean, you wipe it.
Well, you have to still wipe your butt.
You got to get the water out of, but why?
Okay, then you got to sell me on the bidet here because.
Okay, think about it. There are people walking around. 90% of Americans are walking around.
I understand the logic of it, but I want you to tell me how you do it.
The physiological process of it?
Yeah. Because I want to do it right.
Okay.
You sit down on it.
Well, you sit on a toilet seat, right?
Well, so, in this house, there is a bidet. It's a separate bidet.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I'm talking about the ones that you can get on Amazon for $25. Okay? Look, Sony owns my intellectual property. We don't all have Binding of Isaac money, motherfucker. Okay, so here's how I do it, okay? There's the toilet seat. And the bidet's just this little nozzle that sticks up, and there's a little handle like Captain Picard's, chair on the Enterprise, and you turn it, and the water shoots up into your butthole, and it's quick, it's pleasurable.
Yeah, but is it getting everything around there?
Well, you just shake your butt around, just adjust.
But either way, you got to wipe
with water.
With water, you're wiping You're not going to stand up with your wet ass. Yeah, I've got a lot going on down there.
I'm not opposed to the fact that you have to use some toilet paper. I'm just saying you got to get the water off. But most people are walking around with stanky-ass buttholes. That's the goddamn truth, because there's a little shit hanging from it and all that crap. Get yourself some bidets. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Why is poop so... poop's prevalent, which I love. I'm very jealous of you, because when I put poop in my games... The last game I made, and will probably be the last game I ever made, was Drawn to Death, in which literally a weapon is a monkey that you feed a banana and he shits, and then you grab the shit from his butthole and you can throw it as a weapon, right? And depending on what you feed him, the shit that comes out is different and all this stuff. And I got raked over the coals for being a juvenile delinquent.
Yeah.
You're an artist, whatever. You put shit in your game, you're a fucking artist. Fine. Here's the thing, though. Do you know what a corn girl is?
Corn girl?
Corn girl.
No.
A corn girl is a girl so attractive that you would eat the corn kernels out of her poop. I notice that you have a lot of corn and poop in your games. Like, the poop in your games... Do you know what I'm talking about?
Corny?
There's a lot of corn in the poop. Am I wrong or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Right. What is that about? Because it's in Bumbo, too. There's a lot of poop.
So there's two reasons. Number one reason is because, well, maybe there's three reasons. Number one reason is because I think that the conversation we just had about wiping in bidets is interesting to me, mostly because it's not talked about to the point of people understanding these things. Like even the bidet situation, like I used that bidet and I felt like I was using it wrong.
Okay.
Because no one talks about it, and I don't know, and I had to like Google stuff, and it appeared I was using it right, but then it kind of felt like I was gonna have to. I mean, I'm a very hairy person, and I had to use a lot of toilet paper either way after the fact in order to dry off.
But you have to get off your toilet and then move your body to the bidet. Is that how you're? Yeah, that's for cave people. Yeah, but keep going.
Well, it's not like. Yeah, but I think my wife uses it. Anyway, it's interesting to me that something that everybody does and everybody has experience with is so not talked about.
Yeah.
Is stupidly, and is so funny and also gross. It's just there's a lot of interest.
It's delightful. It's delightful. It's
funny. It's a universal thing. Men and women all we all have buttholes and we all poop and we all have poop problems. And when you start talking about bowel movements in general, you start realizing how incredibly different everybody is, and how like for some people, diarrhea every day is a reality and they're fine, and for some people, constipation, going to the bathroom once a week is a normal thing and they're fine.
Right.
And it's like, it's just there's a lot of weird, interesting things there, and I like weird, interesting things, so that's part of it.
I understand.
Two is I have had what I guess is IBS really bad for my whole life.
Okay.
So when I was little, I would have ulcers. So all of my internal whatever turned into holes in my stomach, and I would get
Oh,
horrible.
wow. Okay.
And then when I got a little older, it became horrible stomach cramps, just doubled over in pain, always in the bathroom, whatever else, there's a lot of that in Isaac. And then it kind of fluctuated as I went. I've gotten a little bit better now and understand what to eat and what not to eat. And
right.
You know, either way, if I'm stressed out, it's probably still happening. But so that's another thing. There's some true to life. You know, I'm in the bathroom a lot.
Right.
You know, people, my wife and my daughter were like, "Where's Daddy? He's in the bathroom." How many times do I have to go to the bathroom before we leave just to make sure?
Right.
I don't shit my pants while we're going to get food. And that's that. And then the other thing is that I like peppering in bullshit that will make people not take what I'm doing so seriously, because it feels better to me. There's also humor in it, but it's just, if I presented The Binding of Isaac stripped down without any humor at all or anything to make people not look, you know, I don't want people like looking at it with a magnifying glass and analyzing every dark aspect of it, because then it just becomes some sort of horrible personal poetry that I'm reading aloud to, you know, the class, and that feels terrible. So I think I dumb it down as much as I can, and I'm fine with doing that.
I mean, that is a very observant and wise, like for me, the reason I think the game resonates with so many, the reason it resonates with me is because it does feel like personal poetry. But it's fascinating to learn that there was actually, that's you holding back, because it feels so honest and it feels so genuine.
I just don't want to take myself that seriously.
Sure.
And it's a fucking video game, and I think most people just see it as a naked kid crying on shit. And that's
I don't think, if that was the case, I don't think that would explain the success and longevity of it. I think there's, and again, you don't get to know. It's I was talking to a horror author on the show sometime last year, and I was starting to talk to him about what his book meant and all the kind of English majory bullshit that we do when we're English majors, which I was. And he was like, ultimately, he's like, dude, I mean, I can tell you what I was thinking, but it really is none of my business. He's like, once I put the work out there, it really is a life of its own. It's how the audience chooses to interpret it. So yeah. I think that's there's something beautiful about that almost. It's like, look, I made this, and I mean, I don't know if you found this, but like when you were making Isaac or you were making any of your games, did you know what they were about really while you were making them? It's not until
there's no point for me. There's no point of doing that.
Right.
When I'm making anything, it's because I'm trying to figure something out and I don't have a solution. And in the creative process is going to give me some perspective so that maybe I don't have an answer. I probably never have an answer, but I at least have gained perspective, not only through my experience in viewing it from a different perspective, but also from everybody else's looking at it and looking at it through their perspective. So it just helps me understand what the fuck I'm doing.
When you say you're trying to figure something out whenever you make something, do you mean like a game design problem, or you mean like a philosophical moral life problem?
More of a, I guess, philosophical moral life problem. I mean,
okay.
Basically every game that I've ever done was like Time Fuck was based off of my 10-year high school reunion, where I went to it and it was like, I went to that high school reunion. Okay, obviously I wasn't the most popular kid, and I wasn't really picked on, but everybody thought I was going to be some school shooter or.
And Time Fuck was before you had any real big commercial success. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I was working on Meat Boy when that happened, and I think we got a preview in Nintendo Power, and I brought the Nintendo Power in the car uninvited. I didn't get a ticket or anything. I just showed up there. I was just going to show up. I left it in the car. I didn't bring it in. And when I went in, and everybody was just drunk and crying and miserable, and it was awful. And I felt terrible. And it felt like everybody was in the same place that they were in high school.
Right.
But it seemed like so self-imposed. It was like so, and I remember kind of like scoffing at it, of course. And, but then getting back home, I kind of realized that I was doing the same thing in a lot of different ways, just like I didn't have that kind of perspective to like reanalyze my own life and figure out what boxes that I'm putting myself in that I should probably get out of.
Right.
And I kind of wanted to make a game about that, about being trapped in a stasis and being self-sabotaged by your past and future selves constantly. And you're just scrambling to outdo your own personal, negativity. And it's this fight to get out.
So when you're making that game, that desire to make a game about that, is that concretized, or is that only in retrospect you realized that's what it was about, or did you know going in?
I knew going in that that's what I was doing, but I wasn't laser focused on it. I was putting myself in the headspace and then allowing abstract ideas to come out, like weird, like a lot of the dialogue from your future and past selves was all just like sit down at the computer and almost like writing poetry. I'm just gonna write whatever feels
like stream
correct.
Of consciousness.
Yeah. In this moment, and then just little things like I wanted design-wise, I wanted there to be the loop. I wanted you to. So he starts growing a tumor on his head. I don't know how far you got into it. He starts growing a tumor on his head. The tumor mutates into like a fetus, a copy of yourself, and eventually hangs off of you and splits. And that's your future self that went in you and then split you in two. And then you've got two selves, and you don't know which one is you. And the one that goes into the future is trying to fuck over the one. It's constant, and you're always trying to fuck over it's a loop that happens forever. So there's the ones coming in, and you're getting messages from all these different time frames, but it's all happening in stasis, in a box that doesn't experience time. And then when you get out, your job is to put someone back in.
Okay, I have two comments on that, or questions on that. So when you make a game like that, how much does it matter to you if that level of awareness of what it's about gets perceived by the audience?
Zero. I like it when people just think it's weird.
Okay.
It's more comfortable.
I ask that only because, as I've gotten older, I've started to recognize, and maybe just because I've allowed my brain to do it, I don't know, but maybe it's because I've been talking on these interviews to authors and writers and designers, and I've started to see other people's processes and inspirations. But I've started to become very fascinated by play mechanics that are metaphorical or that are representative of something beyond just the play mechanic that they actually are as at a game level. And so for me, it's almost like if that had been a book you had written, or a movie you had made, there is a sort of process through which people have been conditioned over the decades to say, there are different ways to read between the lines. There's subtext, and eventually people would say Time Fuck or Super Meat Boy or Binding of Isaac is really should be celebrated amongst the, best writing of the year in games, for example. But what gets celebrated, which always drives me batshit, are the things that are like, oh, this feels like a movie. And it's like
traditional storytelling.
And I'm kind of going.
I get annoyed by the same stuff. It's hard to explain too. And I know a lot of people really like traditional storytelling.
I like it as well, but it's not
in games. Yeah. For me, I don't. I play games I want gameplay. Like and if there's, I don't care about story. If there's theme, and it bleeds through it, and it just creates this glimmer of a living world in any kind of environment, that's all that I expect or want. I don't need any kind of full-blown whatever to enjoy, Spelunky, you know what I mean?
Right.
I want my I think that's what games are. And I'm not trying to like throw away, story-driven games and say they're garbage, because they're not, because they're completely valid. But for me, the games that I like to make and the games that I like to play, the storytelling is what happens while I'm playing. It's the gameplay.
Yeah.
And I think when you, especially in roguelike type games, randomly generated games, or games that are made to be played indefinitely, you get that storytelling through gameplay, which I think is kind of the pinnacle of storytelling and gameplay.
Do you think you'll ever want to, because the stories that you've told me on this conversation about what Meat Boy's actually about, or what Time Fuck is really about, that I like hearing that. It's pleasing to hear that. I don't know if it would enrich the game or not, but do you ever feel the desire to push that a little bit more into the spotlight?
No. It seems so pompous. Like,
why?
In retrospect, I don't know. In retrospect, it's fine. I can talk about this sort of stuff when years passed, but I just can't. It feels manipulative. It feels like I'm putting a puzzle together for somebody that is. I'm taking something from somebody. I don't know. It doesn't feel correct. I can't put words to it, but it doesn't feel. It feels manipulative, and it feels pompous for me to tell everybody what everything's about from the get-go, or whatever else.
Right. Oh, I don't mean you should tell them. I mean, just give them a little bit more breadcrumbs.
I mean, I give them a little. The bread people. I just don't want to treat. I don't want to treat my fans like they aren't smart, because they are, and I know that they are, and I know that they can figure it out, and I know they're creative, and I feel like explaining. I mean, I'll go in and I'll say something like, I can tell you right now that Mugenics, and again, open this. I go into a project and I'm very open about what I'm writing about. Yeah. And I'm filling in the gaps as I go, because I'm allowing the game to tell me what it wants. And there's this Zen creative headspace of going into something, having some structure around you, but then having all these gaps everywhere, and allowing the game to fill those gaps in organically as you progress. Not only is it better for morale and just creative juices as you go, like when you're working on a project for this many years or whatever, when you go in, I'm going to be working on it for another 2 years. You go in, you don't want to know everything. You don't want to know the end of the movie. You know what I mean? Right. You want it to flow organically and allow it to go where it needs to go. But going in right now, writing Mugenics is about permanence, and it is about legacy. It's about humanity, and it's about animal instinct and the fact that humans are animals. That's where I'm coming from, and I don't know where it goes.
And you don't consciously sit there and say, I need a play mechanic that reflects how humans are animals. You're just saying that's the North Star, and you're sort of subconsciously making choices.
Yeah, and the choices are, most of the choices are already made for that. Like it is. Enough of that is there. That is my guideline, and that is where I'm going. And do I care that anybody gets it? Absolutely not. This is my own personal thing, and I'm doing it. My goal is to make it enjoyable, and make it bite. Like I want you to feel loss and permanence, and I want you to feel the legacy that you leave. When you have a cat, then you take it on this long adventure, and it survives and comes back, and you need the DNA of that cat to breed in order to have, that's the end of the lifeline. If that cat dies, if that cat ages out, if it comes back with a disease and it perishes, if it's unable to procreate because it lost its balls while it's on its adventure, and it's your holy grail, right? That DNA strand dies, and you lose everything that you've been working on. And you got to start anew. And that is the most compelling part of this project, and that's the initial kind of going in thing.
Interesting.
And the whole animal human aspect thing will kind of be peppered in thematically, not so much gameplay wise.
Do you think about that? I mean, I've never been one of those people that cares about personal legacy, like what I leave behind. I've never given a thought to it, but I know a lot of people do. Is that something that you, in your life now that you've got 2 kids and whatnot, are you thinking about that?
It's something I'm thinking about. I mean, that's kind of why I'm in this it's kind of why I'm making it.
Right.
I'll figure it out and kind of, it's interesting to me. Like we've talked about it before, like the legacy of my bloodline going backwards.
Yeah.
The further back you go, the poorer and more destitute, like terrible. Like I don't even know how I'm here. Like I came from, like, my grandfather was institutionalized. My grandmother came here from Mexico during the Depression. And my dad's family came from Ireland, incredibly poor. And all my family is, for the most part, still very poor. And we just have this like trauma that just, goes back for forever. And the fact that I am where I'm at now is just mind boggling to me. And the fact that I can look at my daughter and see that she's not experiencing anything remotely like anything I experienced, because she's 5 now, and she has a completely different life. And that's interesting to me.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. I get it. No, I get it. I think most people have similar stories. They just don't talk about it. There's a lot of shame associated with not coming from the normal family. But, it doesn't take you long after becoming an adult and then having your own family that you realize no one has the normal family. Everybody's got a drip of crazy at the least. That they
it's all relative to your experience. And that's why I try not to scoff so much at people. Like, I do have friends that have had it pretty fucking good. And they'll say something and it's like, I kind of hold myself back because, in a lot of people's lives, their dog dying is the worst possible thing that's ever happened to them. And it's the equivalent of whatever the worst thing that happened to you is.
Right.
And it's hard to keep that perspective and not judge people based on your own experiences. And I try to do that because I know that everything's relative to the life that you're, living.
Right. I got a couple more questions, and I want to bring in the fans who've been waiting patiently, which I appreciate. But I want to. Okay, so Issac comes out the first 6 months. It doesn't do much. Kind of sits there, right? I mean, in terms of sales, it wasn't a big hit at first, right?
No, yeah.
So
it was okay. I mean, I was happy with it. I worked on it for 3 months, and I thought I was going to sell it to Adult Swim for a couple $1,000, and that was going to be it. So I was super jazzed about it.
Okay, so you weren't walking around going, "I've made this thing that I love and no one cares." You felt good.
No, it's a 3-month project. Yeah, like, and I want to get into that headspace in the future too. Like, once Eugenics is done, I want to just do that shit again. I want to just do 3-month riffs and just grow as an artist and not do these long-winded 3-year projects.
Right.
But yeah, so it wasn't a big risk. So I was completely happy with whatever it was, and my goal was to make something so gritty and true and honest and weird to me, like the most true to me as I could possibly be. And I didn't think a majority of people would like it, but I knew that a small majority of people would like it, like a tiny group of people who liked my sort of stuff would be really into it. And that's what I wanted to do, like a midnight movie type game where I could find that pocket and and I would be totally happy with it. And it did find the pocket in the beginning. There were a lot of people who saw the light and they were like, "Oh, this is great," and they really liked it. But like you're alluding to, like it didn't pick up until a few months after, and then people started playing it, and I think showing people how it's played, which is kind of goes hand in hand with what you said originally. Your experience with the game was similar to most people's experience with the game, where they buy this game and they play it once or twice, and they're like, "Oh, this is just a Zelda shooter." Right. Zelda Smash TD or whatever.
Right.
They don't see the roguelike aspect. They don't see the replayability. I have a close friend, George Fan. He made Plants vs. Zombies, and he played Issac, and he told me, "Oh yeah, I asked him, like, oh, how much did you play of it?" And he's like, "Oh, I beat it." I'm like, "What do you mean you beat it?" He's like, "I killed Mom, and that's it." And I'm like, "Oh, so you just started the game," and he has no idea. And then if George fucking Fan played the game and thought he beat it because he killed Mom, like, how many people out there have no clue? Well, but Let's Players really showed people, I think, that there was so much more.
Is that why did you consciously do the same thing with Bumbo? Because I love, by the way, that's my favorite game of yours so far. I love that game. I can't stop playing it. It's replaced Monster Train as my eat lunch game. I'm like, oh, it's Bumbo time.
I can't say I'm super happy with it. It's I mean, it's fine to me. It's a pass, but it's not high on the list. I feel like I could have made it a lot better.
Right. Well, I love it. So whatever. I don't care what you say. I love it. But so in that game though, did you do this time consciously? Because in that game, I got to the end of the second dungeon, I killed the boss, and it's like, you won, and there's credits, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to go back and play all the characters or whatever. But obviously, you're creating the same potential challenge with that game as you did, but now you have the hindsight of doing that with Isaac. Was that why would you do that again? Was it because you were hoping maybe it would have that same kind of discoverability, or why not lead the player?
I mean, Legend of Bumbo is a prequel to The Binding of Isaac, so I wanted to make it as much like Isaac as I could be without it's not like Isaac at all. Right. So I was trying to design it in a way that would make it feel like it was designed before The Binding of Isaac. So it's supposed to be the precursor to a lot of the mechanics that would eventually be in The Binding of Isaac, even though it came out later. Right. So I'm trying to like re-reference those things as if they were going to happen in the future.
I see. Okay.
So there's it, and then of course a lot of it's just functionality. Like I just want to, I want to make sure people know, like they feel some sense of accomplishment, but then they have the carrot pop up and say like, you unlock this.
Right, and that is the way you're supposed to play it, right? It's 2 dungeons, and then you unlock a new character.
You unlock a new character, and then you unlock a new dungeon, and then you unlock a new character, and then you lock. Yeah, it just keeps kind of going and going.
Okay, I wanted to make sure because I wasn't entirely sure, but yeah, I'm a fan. What's weird though about that, and at least my perception of it, is Meat Boy is clear. I didn't know what it was about, but it was clear it was about something. Isaac is clearly about something. This game feels the least autobiographical in terms of Bumbo.
That's because you're not there yet.
Okay, fair. That's fair. Okay.
Arguably, The Legend of Bumbo has the most visceral reveal.
Yeah, I haven't
my games.
Okay.
That catches people very off guard, and I don't want to spoil it for
you.
Because there's a fourth wall break.
Perfect. Okay. One more Bumbo question. Well, 2. First, at the end of every level, you get the coin bag. Is there something that determines how many coins you're going to get? Is it like how much damage I've taken, or?
It's being hit. It's luck. It's how many turns, I think.
Okay. And what about the doors? Sometimes there's 2 doors. Sometimes there's 1 door, but I don't have any control over which door I go through, right? Is that just a visual thing, or why?
I think it changed. Okay. What it's originally... So Bumbo was one of the games that had the most changes through development and had the longest development cycle of any game I'd ever worked on. And originally you could navigate a whole dungeon just like Isaac. So you could go left, right, up, down.
Right, okay.
And it felt, I had to trim the fat hardcore. Like I cut out a year worth of work because it just wasn't, it felt like it was at the detriment of the game. You okay? Okay. And that was probably the remnant of it, because you used to be able to go to, like, it just forces you through a linear path, because I wanted everything to speed up because it felt too long-winded. There was a whole exploration. The one thing that was cut that I really like that I want to use in the future was there was a hidden pictures aspect of the game where you would go through empty rooms and there would be tiny little hidden coins. And you could click those coins and gain them. It was just a total whatever. Right. But I really liked that little addition. There were also secret rooms and ways to get secret rooms. There was a bunch of weird shit in there that there were traps.
Has it been, I mean, it certainly hasn't caught the zeitgeist like the other game, but has it been successful, or have you been happy with it?
Yeah. Like it is sold very well. I'm totally happy with it. I mean, Okay. It's just, it's the most like, okay.
And the cell phone, game. The iOS game's coming out when, the version?
I think it's been out. The iOS version.
Oh, I can't fucking find it. I went on.
It's. I don't think it's on there directly. It's so like in the beginning. So I made The Legend of Bumbo with James Id, who used to do my trailers. So he's like a video artist, and I worked on a game called Camdrum with him.
Yes, there's too many questions, dude. Because that's a game you wouldn't release because you were worried people would be offended by it or something.
No, I would never not release a game.
But didn't you say it was like really offensive, or it was really?
I don't think it was so much offensive. It was very abrasive. No, it is a vaporware situation due to. Not so much legal issues, but I couldn't release it, and I couldn't continue working on it because other people involved in the project basically put the brakes on it.
Got it. Okay.
And I had no choice to do it. It's something that I would like to re-explore later, and I could see that being something that I work on after Mugenics again.
Okay.
It was a very fun project, and yeah, I'm sure it'll upset some people, but
Cool. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to run through a couple of final real fast questions because I know there's time involved and I want to get the audience in. But AAA gaming, like I was talking about this the other day on the stream about Marvel movies and how if I was a game designer today coming up, there's no way I would start in AAA or want to be in AAA. It sounds like a fucking nightmare. Everything from the crunch, the toxicity, to the lack of creative control because the budgets are going through the roof. I said, best case, it's like you become an indie darling like the Marvel way, where they hire directors that have made great small budget movies, and then they give them one of these big, great stories to tell. But in games, it sounds very different. Like I could be wrong, but I imagine you would be miserable if Sony Santa Monica called you and said, "We love what your games are about. Can you come do that as a director and lead designer on a big scale?" Do you harbor those desires, or do you think that would be something you would not want to get involved with?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I would have been working in actual. I had options. I could have been working in games, and
right.
I'm just not the type of person that. So originally it was, I want to have control. I want to do a very specific thing that absolutely no one else would be interested in doing.
Right.
And I don't. And I know that if I continue to do the thing that I enjoy doing as much as I possibly can, that eventually enough people will care about it that I'll be able to just, kind of make enough money to get by. And that was always the goal. And I did it for 10 years and before I could make any money. I would hate it working for somebody else. I would. Yeah. I have a friend who will remain anonymous.
Okay.
Who worked as an indie for a while, and then kind of went back into, we'll say, AAA, and he is a fucking genius, and he is such a very creative and amazing guy, and he worked on some stuff, and that for a few years, and then left and came back to being indie, and I feel like his experience was kind of disheartening in a way, and he felt like whatever input given was filtered through a million different people, and in the end was no longer his. And that, that's the downfall of AAA is that, is the telephone game and the feedback loop of people buying it. And I don't have any interest in it. But my mom would always send me articles. I would at the times where I was struggling the most. Like I remember working on Super Meat Boy at about a year in, and I have no money, and my mom's sending me clippings of local video game companies that are hiring and that sort of stuff too. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain this to you, but I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm finally starting to make money. Yeah. And I don't want to do this. It's my goal.
I think it's a very healthy perspective. I'm as a fan, I'm happy to hear you say that, because as a guy who's worked, I got into games as a designer and creator when it was it was today's version of barely AA games, right? Yeah. I mean, they were, I've never worked on a team that's made one of these, you know, $240 million Last of Us Part 2s, I can't imagine I would enjoy that. I think it would be just at least half the job is politics and in dealing with getting your idea. And I'm just like, fuck that shit, man. No, thank you. But I hear you. Last question. Your games are really hard, right? Is that metaphorical? Is that because you're of the generation, you're a little younger than me? And like, I grew up with arcades, and the arcade games, certain ones were hard, but it wasn't like your generation or a generation that was like grew up with the NES where the games were staggeringly difficult once you got past a certain level, which whether that was intentional or not, I don't know. So maybe I find a lot of indie game developers really like making their shit really fucking hard. And I'm just curious about why that is, because I think Super Meat Boy obviously is the poster child for this fucker will kick your ass. And then Celeste comes along and it's like, hey, that's a badge of honor. And I'm like, I'm not playing Celeste because it's fucking hard. I hear it's great, but I'm not going to fucking play that game.
But you can make Celeste easier, though.
Can you? Indus Nigh. Yeah. I didn't play Indus Nigh more than 20 minutes because I'm like, I can't. So
it's for a game like the Indus Nigh, it's not for everyone. And that's definitely like right from out the gates, I will say like the Indus Nigh is for a certain type of person. And that's fine. Super Meat Boy, like when you say Super Meat Boy, you got to a point and you just couldn't do it. I feel like I failed you as a teacher and as a game designer, because I feel like I designed that game to be very challenging, but not to the point of it. I believe in you, and I believe that I will give you the tools needed in order to complete it. And I feel like as a designer, that's my job. And I feel like I could have probably, like now I could have probably make it better and make it to ease you in enough to allow it to be there. And the reason why I do it is because there's a big difference between, doing something that's just mundane and is handed to you, and doing something that is difficult and is difficult and is challenging to you, but you see yourself get better and you complete it. The feeling there is so good that I don't want to cheapen that or take that away from somebody, because that is the foundation of the game that I'm making when I make something that's difficult. It's the same thing with like a puzzle game, like with Bumbo. Like that game is challenging and it uses a lot of your brain. It's not dexterity based. Like it's a thinking game. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to cheapen that. And I think that's the focus. I don't focus on making games super hard. I'm focusing on making games challenging enough to make you feel good when you complete things. And I hope that I'm a good enough designer to smooth the learning curve out enough and teach people enough to get them through the game completely. Not the end is nigh, though. That's different. Right.
No, I think with Meat Boy, I had the tools. I think it was a cadence issue. I think after I hit like 3 or 4 levels or screens in a row that were so punishing that I got past the 4th one, I'm like, I don't need that feeling anymore. And I'm like, I thought I was going to just have screen after screen of that tension and like, oh my God, But let me ask you, okay, one more thing, because if you were to make a game about life with your 5-year-old, right, if that was your next game, and it sounds like you have a very wonderful relationship with your child, and it's healthy and it's peaceful, and you're a great dad. Do you think instinctively that game wouldn't be as hard? Because when you talk about Meat Boy being challenging, and then I learned the reason behind Meat Boy at a story level, I go, well, yeah, it's hard. It's representing the journey you had to go on. And I might be reading too much into it. Like I said, I may be applying an English major magnifying glass to it, but I get why that game is hard. But would you instinctively make a game about something in your life that's been pleasant and easy? Would you make that hard? Or you don't know?
I think it just depends. Like I would totally make like a toy game. I would make a Katamari type game. Like it's like a Zen type whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't limit myself when it just comes to a challenging game. I think just most games that I personally enjoy tend to revolve around some amount of mental or physical fortitude, and they make you feel good when you achieve them.
Gotcha.
So that's what I like. But yeah, of course, like if whatever's most appropriate is what I lean towards. I'm not gonna make a game about, hanging out with my daughter. It's so, well, I guess it is difficult. Maybe it is. My daughter's not easy. You never know.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. Well, what do they say? The days are long, the years are short. So
Yeah.
That's been true to me. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself on Zoom. I invite you to do the same. We'll unmute ourselves on Discord and we'll bring some calls in.
Can I let me pee? I need to pee.
Pee away, good sir.
I don't need a bidet to pee. I become the bidet.
I've never tried that. That would be interesting.
I'll be back.
All right, man. All right, I'm going to bring in Mario Chief Dane Barnes first to talk to Eddie. I know he's been waiting a while. Let's see, Dane Barnes, Mario Chief, how you doing, man? Mario Chief.
Hello.
Hey, man, how are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. How's, if you don't know, Mario Chief's a regular listener to the show. He also manages a motion picture house. How is Shang-Chi doing?
It's doing pretty well. It's been really busy this whole weekend, and we have run out of many things, such as large cups and stuff, because our distribution centers and stuff are all messed up because of COVID.
Right.
It's been a bit of a nightmare, but yeah, it's doing well.
But have you seen it?
No.
No. Do people seem to like it, though, yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm excited to see it. I'm going to wait. I guess it's only a 45-day window between theatrical and when it comes to home digital. So I guess I'll wait for that. But I'm still a little too nervous to get out to the theaters. But I'm glad things are picking up for you guys.
Yeah, it's good. Just stressful.
Yeah, I imagine. So, okay. I see people in the chat are talking about Bloodroots. Bloodroots is fucking awesome. Bloodroots is a great fucking game. What are you playing right now, Mario Chief? What games are you playing?
I've been playing a lot of StarCraft 2, actually.
Oh my god. Are you playing
I know.
Are you playing online or against the PC?
Just with one of my friends.
Okay. I didn't know if it was still an active user base on that game or not.
Yes, people are still playing.
That's amazing. Back before Blizzard became Activisionized, which is such a fucking tragedy.
I know.
Such fucking tragedy. But I mean, that's how it works. That's the rhythm. Those guys made a bunch of money, and then they decided to go on and open new companies, and there you go. All right, Edmund McMillan, you are on with one of your biggest fans, Mario Chief.
One sec, my mouse died, and I gotta plug it in. And then I gotta mute myself on here?
You mute yourself on Zoom, and then you unmute yourself on the Discord.
I've done it.
Are you there? Yep, we can hear you. All right, this is Mario, Edmund.
Hello.
So I'm a bathwater boy.
Cool.
So I have a couple questions for you. I'm a big fan since the Flash days. I had heard that you were thinking about doing an Aether 2. I was wondering what you were any ideas you had for what that might be like. And is there any sort of colonies growing in the bathwater?
The bathwater's looking iffy. It's pretty fucking cloudy. I haven't even looked at it in a few weeks, and it was looking pretty cloudy before. But yeah, as far as a sequel to Aether, Tyler and I did make a prototype, which was kind of more of an expansion than a sequel, which pushed you further out. Just imagine like a whole expanding galaxy of planets that not only had puzzles on the outside, but you could go inside and you can get off the monster and it kind of explore. So it was kind of like a relaxing exploration platforming puzzle game. And for whatever reason, we stopped. We've prototyped a few different projects like that, and shit just happens, and other stuff is more interesting. I jumped off of the pleasant but dark Aether 2 into The End is Nigh.
Well, Well, I hope to see it one day. Are the card corrections and all that going well?
Yeah, they're still actively going. The deadline is the 30th to have everything 100%.
Sweet. Well, I look forward to getting it. Have a good one.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Take it easy.
Talk to you later. All right, I'm bringing in somebody named Pyre Q. Pyre, you're on with good Sir Edmund of the Connecticut Edmonds. Are you there? There you go.
Hello. Hello, I'm Pyre.
Hey, man, what's up?
Hello, I'm good. And you?
Good. What's your question for Edmund?
First of all, I just want to say I'm a big fan and I love all of your works. And my question is, when you came up with the Bumbo idea, like the design and his character.
Like, when did I come up with it, or what?
Yeah. Like, when was it? Like, few years ago, or?
I think so. The original design for Bumbo had nothing to do with Isaac at all. And it was a bunch of bums fighting over a trash heap. And so the puzzle board was trash, and it was inside it like you're looking down into like a trash bin, and you would combine different things together to like make objects to throw at these marionette puppet hobos that were coming to get your trash. And then as you dig, you'd find coins, and then you'd buy alcohol, and then that was the rough design for the original. And then I think one of the last things Tommy said to me was, why don't you just make it a binding, put the Binding of Isaac on it, make $1 million. I said, okay.
Exactly. Put Isaac everywhere.
I took his advice. And well, there was a lot more there. I think if I would have made the original game just as it was, it would have probably been like a 6-month, very basic little, endless puzzle game where you're just constantly trying to fight off armies of
like
pubs.
Candy Crush Saga, but I think The Legend of Bumbo is like one of the best game I played. Even with it, easy idea. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. This is a Bumbo love fest, and
That's
I'm
great.
gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to replay it. It's gonna come out on consoles by the end of the year.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, or at least on Switch.
I will show
I'm gonna have to re-experiencing it in hopes that I can.
Yeah, and figure out why it's hard to find on the Apple Store. I can't find it. I want that damn thing.
Oh yeah, that's what I was telling you. So we originally got into it, and we got a deal from a company that wanted to have the rights to publish it on the App Store, and they gave us money. So it was like, here's a ridiculous amount of money, so we can put it on the App Store. You can release it on Steam. And we're like, sure, we took the deal. But then that company got acquired by another company, and then that company got acquired by another company, and then they did their own like I think they're called The Label. They did their own subscription service, I think.
Really?
So you need that in order to play it on iOS.
Oh, fuck that. Fuck that. I'll play it on Steam.
Yeah.
I'll keep going. On
yeah,
Steam.
it's always.
So it's there. I just don't know how to
access it.
search for it.
All right.
Maybe.
Buddy, thank you for the call. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
All right. We just got a lot of calls. I want to move through them. This is Hyperpixel talking to Edmund McMullen. Thanks for calling, buddy. What's up? Hyperpixel. There you go, bud. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
What's up?
The ceiling. No, sorry.
I thought that was a very good joke, Hyperpixel. It was very good. Good try.
It's an automatic response of mine where anytime someone asks me what's up,
I don't need your life story, Hyperpixel. Talk to Edmund. You know what's funny is thank God that Edmund's daughter isn't home, or she'd be like, I'm doing that voice tonight, Daddy. All right. All right, go ahead, Hyperpixel. What's up, man?
I have like two or three questions for Edmund, if that's okay.
If they're fast and interesting, yeah.
Yeah, there will be. So the unofficial name for Isaac's mother is Maggie, isn't it?
Yeah, Magdalene is her full name. Maggie's her short name.
Yeah. Does Isaac's father have a name?
It's insignificant.
I would have loved to have known.
Yeah, it's good to allow that to not be known.
His
Yeah,
name
fair
is
enough.
Make Me a Chicken Pot Pie Boy, or I'm gonna knock you upside the head with a belt again. That's his fucking name.
It's important for me to frame that he abandoned. He's an abandoner, and the abandoner has no presence, and someone who has no presence should not be acknowledged.
But what's weird
Yeah,
about
well-
that though is your mother, your dad's side of the family were the really religious side, right?
It's not all about me.
Okay, but it is correct though, right? Because the mother in the game is the bad guy, really, and the dad is not there. But in your life, your dad was the real religious one that would have heard a voice from God saying, "Kill your son."
If you finish the DLC, my goal with the final DLC is to paint a clearer picture of a situation where nobody is the bad guy,
Okay, fair.
other than possibly religion.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think I do a pretty good job of that. I mean, it's hard to say who's at fault in a situation a lot of times like that.
No, I mean that's a great point. I mean, certainly, people go to religion, like you said, for saving themselves from an awful life, and I get it. All right, Hyperpixel, keep going. What was your next question?
Okay, so so dogma is supposed to be religious indoctrination, yeah?
religious dogma. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the significance with the mega harbingers and the beast? Is that like the inner demons of Isaac, or
No,
what
it's
is it?
it's the end. It's the embodiment of the destruction. It is Revelations. It is his mother becomes the
I
beast
see.
who rises from the sea, and then their heads are represented. Originally, like in my sketches, the harbingers were going to be these just heads, the heads of the harbingers that were attached. It's like the multi-headed, multi-horned beast that rises from the lake of fire.
So sort of like a kind of a five-headed like monster.
Yeah.
Would it
It's
be
a
like,
religious bookend. I wanted to throw back
Yeah.
to my favorite, chapter of the Bible, which is the Book of Revelations.
Okay, what was your last question, Hyper?
And of course, this one is probably asked by hundreds of people. Is there any news about console repentance?
Yeah, I get like random updates from Tyrone and the guys about different status stuff, and usually it's to approve different cover boxes and stuff like that. All I know is it's still in development, and it is happening. I don't know exactly when. We still don't have a release date, but it's one of the situations where I think they're doing all of them at the same time. I think the ports are finished. I think it's gotten to the point of physical stuff. I'm pretty sure like the Vita version got leaked, so I'm pretty sure that's
I heard something about that where someone found a single copy, like physical copy of the Vita version, and there was no other one.
Yeah, it's being printed. So whoever found it, however they got it from the printer, or it was some sort of test print that originally was acquired by somebody at the company. Because I don't have one, and I always get my copies.
Yeah, that's odd. Yeah.
Thanks, Hyper. Appreciate the call, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, man. Let me ask you real quick. The guy that you did Meat Boy with, Super Meat Boy in the movie, the programmer, what was his name?
Tommy.
Okay, so you've not worked with him since. They went off and did Super Meat Boy forever, and they're doing their own thing, right?
Yeah, I left the company a little before I started working on The End is Nigh.
Okay, and so is it one of those things where the public story isn't really the private story? The public story is, no, we still get along. It's great. He's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. But that's not really what the story is, right? I mean, there was drama there, correct?
There's 1,000 intertwining stories.
Okay.
There's so much there, but I wouldn't want to say anything disparaging about the company or any allude to. I don't want to make a joke that is interpreted in a negative way or anything else like that. I haven't talked to Tommy since I left the company, and I I don't even look at what they're doing because it's, it's painful in some ways to see. So I just keep my head down and they do their stuff and I'm doing my stuff, and
Okay.
that's basically where we're at.
I understand. Okay, fair enough. This is a Sam432er. Sam, you are talking to Edmund McMillan. Maybe you are. Come on, Sam, get in there, you old so-and-so. There you are. What's up? Hey, Sam.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Just, so...
Sam, Sam, what are you wearing?
I've got butterflies in my stomach.
Ooh, sexy, Sam. All right.
And that's all he's wearing.
That's all he's wearing.
The
Relax.
butterflies in his stomach.
Relax, Sam. It's just Ed. It's
No,
just
no.
Ed.
I know, but I'm just like, I'm shitting myself.
Oh, well, you need a bidet, buddy.
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier.
You goddamn right. It's called a callback, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got two questions, all right, and they're directed. The first question is directed towards both Ed and you.
Okay.
And it's a very basic question, all right. If this has been asked before, I deeply apologize.
Oh, I'll cut you off. The penis goes in the vagina.
No, it's not that.
Oh, okay.
I'm too young to be talking about that.
You don't
Basically, it's about. Nope. But it's about music. And basically the question is, what is your favorite studio album and why? That's the first question. Yeah.
It's like impossible to choose a favorite. I will choose.
Okay.
My favorite studio album, the album that I listen to the most, and the one that keeps coming back that I think is my favorite album of all time, is Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins.
Ooh,
and there are a lot that are close, but that is the one that every time I put it on and I listen from start to finish, I feel a lot of emotion, and the emotion is still there.
Yeah. For me personally, the whole emotion thing. I might sound pretty lame for saying this, but the one album that I always keep going, well, I don't really keep going back to, but I feel it resonates with me so much, and it's the only album like I've ever listened to from a band that has actually made me like cry. It's actually made me feel such heavy emotion. That is Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah, man, just like I've listened to.
Okay, what was your next question? What was your next question, bud?
I want to hear your David. I want to hear your answer though.
I'm not a big aficionado. I mean, I like music, but
well, then just throw out your album.
I mean,
no one's judging.
But I don't care if they're judging. I'm just saying I don't have a deep library, but I would say, I don't listen to full albums anymore, but the last one I can remember that I listened to a lot of was Duke by Genesis. And there's something about that just feels very connects with me, but I love music, but I'm a put on a bunch of pop music and work kind of guy. Lately, because I have started getting into marijuana usage, I have been enjoying music in a different way. So it's I know it sounds like I'm only 20, because most people when they're 20 they learn this, but I was 50 when I learned this. But to get pretty fucking buzzed off marijuana and then put on a record and just lay in your bed with the lights off and listen is a delight of being alive that I had never experienced until recently. So the Pink Floyd stuff, I'm with you on, man. Listening to that is great when you're high.
Well, I don't do it.
I feel the need to point out that I didn't realize that I was the type of person. I always thought that everybody, you grow up, you think everybody's just like you and they like the same things and whatever else. Music has always moved me greatly. And been a major part of my life. And the way you describe listening to music while high is how I experience music every day without anything. It's like someone can say a word at a certain pitch in a song, and I will get goosebumps all over and be moved deeply. It is almost a curse because I feel real stupid when the songs are kind of like totally goofy, and then there's just like a one-liner in there that just hits me to my core, and I'm like, my wife puts her hand on my arm, and I've got goosebumps, and I feel like such a fucking idiot. But yeah.
But for me,
no, but
For
Sam, I love you, and
Right.
this is a virtual hug, and you get a little smoke of the pipe, buddy. There you go, bud. That's for you, Samuel. But listen,
sorry.
no, I love you with all my heart and soul as a fellow human. But listen to me, Sam.
I need
Nobody cares.
Of course.
Nobody cares. And I don't mean that like your friends don't care. I don't mean that like your mom or your wife doesn't care. I mean that like you're calling into a show that hopefully will be successful and have, for me, 10,000 people in the long run watching it. I don't think they give a fuck what your favorite album is, Sam.
Of course.
How does that
really
make you?
just don't care.
How does that make you feel, Sam? That I just said that.
And I mean, it's not surprising because that's what I expected. I came into this and be like, "Yeah, this is what you're going to break my balls." Really,
I don't want to break your balls. I'm just like, do you really think we give a fuck what you're? Fine, go ahead and say it, Sam. What's your favorite?
He already did. He said the wall.
Yeah. So what do you need,
Yeah,
Sam?
I
What do you
said that.
need from Edmund?
Oh, well, that's the second question.
Take
What's
more
our-
from his soul, bitch. Go.
I'm going. But how is an enemy? How is a well-designed enemy made in something like Isaac? Because I'm like really into the whole combat aspect of it. I like to kind of know the process of that.
What you usually do is you take different mechanics, like
Mhm.
I need to be close to something to kill it. I need to be far away from something because it's dangerous when I'm close to it. Or I need to move quickly. I need to dodge this. Or you get into the AI aspect and be like, does this enemy follow you? Does it stay away from you because it buffs something else? Or does it move randomly, like the spiders, that's why they're so hard, is because they're completely random in the way that they move. They generally move kind of towards your location, but they move randomly. And you just try to complement the game's mechanics with the enemies and design around different aspects of what the game is offering, because not only is it fun, but it also trains the player how to do different things.
And with variants, you play off an element basically of what the enemy already is. Basically, like the squirts, for example. Take that. So that's those are my two.
All right, Sam. I hope you know I'm just fucking around with you. I appreciate you calling, buddy. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. Seriously, man. I'm sorry, buddy. Sometimes I just, people are like, fuck that guy. You don't do any coding though, right?
No, I don't.
So So how with the enemy design in Isaac, for example, when you work on new enemies, is it that you sit down with the coder and say, here's what I want? Or do they pretty much say, I see the art, let me mock some things up? I mean, what's the relationship between you and the coder in terms of the mechanics of the game?
Well, for Isaac and stuff like that, I usually just, say, make this enemy follow, make this enemy shoot, make this enemy do this, do that. With something like Mugenics, since Tyler is a designer as well, so we get to kind of bounce ideas off of each other, and we kind of go from there.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, this is Findrunk. Findrunk, you are talking to Edmund McMillan, sir. Are you there, Findrunk? I've been drunk about 20 cases of this WD-40. Findrunk, what's up, pal?
Hello. First of all, sorry if my English is kind of broken. I actually speak in Spanish.
You speak two languages. That's smarter than I am. Don't apologize for being a fucking brilliant guy. Go.
All right. First of all, I actually wanted to say I got two little questions, but first, Edmund, I gotta say thank you for basically changing my life. I'm pretty young, actually. I'm just 19-year-old, but I started playing your games when I was around 11, and they basically made me want to be an artist and everything. And I'm actually one of the artists that made one of the alt cards, the keeper one.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you started talking to me and I was dying. But yeah, I love that and I hope to work with you again in the future. All right. I got two little questions. First of all, I wanted to ask, what is your thought process when making character designs or thinking about them? Like, how do you design characters?
I usually take something. So like, I can even show you some stuff over here. I've got this remarkable tablet because I used to just work on paper, and it got messy. So currently, I'm attempting to. There's a zone in eugenics that call it the bone zone, but I think it's going to be this like pet cemetery area that is full of bone themed things, and I'm trying to figure out what I want there to be something unique about these things. And currently right now I'm playing around with like weird different configurations of bones, but those don't look pleasing at all. And then like eyeless skulls, or even I can't get away from the fact like I love like locked teeth. I like that sort of stuff too. So what I usually do is I'll think of something that I find pleasing visually, and something that resonates with me as well as fits the theme of whatever area that I'm trying to design for. And I'll usually design mechanics possibly around the way they look, or I'll design a mechanic that is needed because there's a hole in the design in this area that needs like an enemy that does this, and then I will kind of reskin it in something that works correctly. And usually I can't help but like, I like really fleshy things. I like really organic, fleshy, gross, drippy weirdness, poop and guts and maggots and flies, decay and that sort of stuff too. So that'll always be prevalent. But in eugenics, I get to, branch out to cats and dogs without heads. There's lots of headless things. Those are always really disturbing. And usually I pull from just real life stuff. Like I have cats that will catch bunnies and decapitate. The first thing that they do is they eat the brain. The brain is like the number one yummy part for animals.
Have you said what the core mechanic of or what genre this game is yet?
Eugenics?
Yeah.
It's it's a breeding sim that you utilize as your hub, and you use your bred cats on a turn-based roguelike adventure, kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics.
Okay.
Meets D&D meets Pokemon.
Gotcha. Okay, fair. All right. And what was your last question, Findrunk?
Oh, all right. I'm sorry, I have some delay with the stream, so I kind of get paused. All right. Second question. As I said, you basically inspired me to be an artist. I'm kind of shaking right now. I'm actually studying to be an animator right now. And I know you have like answered this more than once, but as aspiring artist, what would your any tips for someone who wants to go big on art?
Well, so this goes against the grain, and a lot of people give me shit about this, but this is fucking reality, and I'm gonna just put it out there. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have any work, and I would never get any work if I didn't volunteer my time and prove my worth to people that weren't paying me initially. And I know that's very frowned upon right now, but that's how I got my start. Like, I didn't have much of a portfolio at all. I have a bunch of fucking dick drawings and poop jokes. And I was desperate to be an artist for a living and just do any kind of contract work that allowed me to do what I was good at and get paid for it. And in order to do that, I literally would go around and I would email companies and say, look, I'm a pretty good illustrator, and I'm a good character designer. I'm a good logo designer. Like, I think I can outdo the current person that you have. I will volunteer some time. Give me a project. Let me do it, as long as I can use it for my portfolio. And I did that to a lot of different places. And not only did I amass a good portfolio, but I made solid contacts, because people will appreciate your gusto. They will appreciate how forward you are and how much you want this job, and they will hire you, especially if you've got the skills to pay the bills.
Can I get some clarification on that? Well, finish what you're saying, though, but I'm fascinated by what you're saying. Keep going.
But that's what I did. And I made contacts that I used for 10 plus years that were always viable, to pay the rent when it came to illustration work, contract work, web design work, logos, character design, stuff like that. I ended up I made the fucking Congregate logo, like I did the art and animation for, and character design for Braid. Like I did a lot of work for people and I got those from volunteer type contract stuff. I made Gish, the game that I made. I volunteered for a month at this company, this independent company called Chronic Logic, who made a game called Pontifex or Bridge Builder. And I volunteered doing artwork, box art, logo design, and some in-game art for the stuff that they were working on. And they hired me, and then within a month, I pitched the game Gish, the game design Gish, to them, and then we made that game. That was my first big game that I actually made some money off of and won awards. So a lot of people say don't do that, but I don't. It just doesn't seem realistic to me.
So that's what I wanted to
But
ask
again,
about.
I didn't go to college. So I didn't go to college, and I didn't have a piece of paper that said I was good. So I needed proof that I was good and reliable, and the only way I could do that was by asking people for a chance and then doing it.
So when you say it's not really looked upon well, I just want to be sure, because you're talking about the new theory that a lot of people online talk about. If you're an artist,
People say don't work for free.
Right. I've
work
never
for free.
understood that either. I'm like, I know that that's a place of privilege, although you're saying
If you're a 40-year-old man who has a family, don't work for free.
Right.
If you're a kid, like if you're 20, if you're under 30 and you have nothing established when it comes to your work, I don't see realistically how you're doing shit. Like even if you have a piece of paper that says that you are a viable source of art, without some, like, I wouldn't realistically, who am I going to hire? Like, I work in speaking. Look, the person that we're speaking to right here, he just approached me and said, I want to do art for a card, and then he showed me some stuff and I thought it was cool, and I said, yeah. And I hired him and I did it. I don't know how old this person is. I didn't know anything about this person. It was just, this looks cool, and he's asking me.
Right.
And it's not bad. So of course, yeah, let's do it. And we did it. And that I feel like that's just a really realistic way to like kind of look at stuff. And
why do you think this new philosophy has taken over a lot of artists online, where it's like it's offensive? I mean, I understand that if someone's being a dick to you, that's one thing. Like, I've seen these tweets where it's like, you better do it because you'll get exposure. Don't be a dick to anybody. But yeah, that was how I came up too. It's like, if you can afford it, and I know it's a privileged position, a lot of people can't, where it's like, intern for free, pound the pavement, offer your services, because that's how you make connections. That's how you get experience. Today, that is frowned upon. It seems ridiculous to me.
Dude, my fucking cousin, who's a pretty prominent person at Sony at this point, got that job for volunteering us for a summer. 100%. 100%. You got to show them that you want it and that you're good at it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I know people abuse it for sure. We're just I don't know. I mean, we're in that point society-wise where people are looking for stuff that could be used to abuse and fuck with people, and we're trying to poke holes in it. And I understand. I mean, even you referenced, the negative aspects of crunch, and I can understand the negative aspects of crunch in a large company. But I'll tell you right now, if I didn't crunch every fucking game, I would never get a goddamn game done. The crunch that I have to do is horrid. And the people that I work with, it breaks sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's just a certain. It's like, yeah, I can understand how it's abusive when a company forces you to come in and they're paying you shit and they're cracking the whip hard, but it's all different when it's a self-imposed situation. So it's like, crunch does work for indies, and sometimes it's very important, in the same way that working for free does work for some people if you're doing it in the right ways. I don't know.
No, I agree. And crunch pays off for big games too. I mean, ultimately, it's a different conversation. But all right, Fendrunk, thanks, buddy. Appreciate the call.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right. This is Cassin Wave 3. I think this is the guy who got into that altercation with President Trump. Are you there, Cass and Wave 3? Cass and Wave 3, you were talking to good Sir Edmund McMillan. Go, good sir. Okay.
He's muted.
You're muted. How about you, Finley Ghost?
Hey, how's it going?
Now they're both unmuted.
All right, Cass and Wave, I put you back in. I'll bring you back in a minute. Finley Ghost, you're on with Edmund. Go.
Hey, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about Indie Game the movie. It's a movie, or I guess a documentary that I watched, or I came across, I guess, about a year and a half ago.
I've heard of it.
And I've probably watched it once or twice a month since then. It's super inspirational. And
Edmund comes off. He's such a gentle giant.
Extra fat.
He's such a gentle giant. Isn't that what I heard you hated? That people
genital giant.
Genital giant.
Genital giant.
Fair enough.
That's people. Yeah, I don't know why they say gentle. It's genital.
I'll keep that in mind for future watch-throughs.
Yeah.
Anyway,
watch for the bulge.
That was the first place I looked, Edmund. It was very impressive. I understand why your wife has stayed with you. I understand.
Okay. I'll be watching. Okay, next watch-throughs in slow motion. I'll be looking for it.
Frame by frame.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to. There was a couple of questions that I wanted to ask. I'm interested in knowing if you regret anything, kind of being immortalized on that documentary. Specifically, as an example, maybe the reclusive cowboy look that you adopted towards the end of development.
No, I thought that was pretty funny. No, I think I'm the only person in the movie that regrets nothing.
Yeah.
Like I just about everybody in that movie, I think, maybe not John Blow, but other people involved have definitely expressed that they felt like they weren't framed, well, or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
I said some fucking crazy shit. I remember I don't remember a lot of the scenes in the movie in real life because I was so sleep deprived.
Oh, sure.
We were crunching the whole time and it was insane.
Yeah, speaking of crunch, right? Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, yeah, one of the things you said is that you felt like you were in a concentration camp, and
yeah, that's one that the internet didn't like. They didn't like.
I was gonna say that'll get you canceled today. You got to be careful.
That's true. That's a good.
I didn't say which concentration camp.
That's true. It could be like the camp for the. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Keep going.
A less bad concentration camp. Right. I laughed after that. It was a joke, but yeah, it was a fucking rough situation. But I don't regret it. It's funny, and I think it's funny that people think it was upsetting.
That's great. Something that I noticed about the reclusive cowboy is how often you seem to try to straighten the one side of the mustache. Again, I've watched this a billion times, and then
you're a fucking weirdo, motherfucker.
Dude,
I don't look. It's because of this. See, look, I don't grow hair. It doesn't connect. So there's this gap there. So I have to grow this out in order to get it to connect.
I have the same issue. Okay, and then another question. I think Phil Fish gets a bad rep, and obviously there's been a few maybe controversial things that have come up on Twitter and whatnot. I think that he's just like a super passionate guy and really lets that drive his emotion most of the time. But I wanted to know if you keep in touch with Phil Fish at all.
I used to.
Okay.
I know some behind the scenes stuff about stuff that he's worked on and maybe working on now, or I don't even know what he's doing. I haven't talked to him in like a couple years, but I did talk to him on and off randomly.
Cool.
No, Phil's not a bad guy. I wouldn't say he gets a bad rap. I think the rap's fine. I think he goes out of his way to get the rap. Like that's part of the bit,
Sure.
And I did hear, I did ask Jamie in Lasan, like, do you feel like you framed him in a bad light to make him look worse? And they're like, we cut stuff that would have made him look a lot worse. So, or more crazy or whatever else. So it's a weird framing issue, because you want to showcase the person, but I know the filmmakers are very soft, very kind, gentle Canadians, and they would never want to, put somebody in a light that would be bad. So their intentions were never there. I think it was always just to like show a picture of how crazy shit was for us.
Oh no, I think it's amazing. I think his whole story is absolutely harrowing, and the first time I watched it, my heart broke when his game was crashing during PAX. It was heartbreaking for me to see that because of everything that he was going through.
Yeah.
Crashing the first day. But anyway, last question. I started a podcast with a buddy of mine, a film podcast, and next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary of Indie Game the movie. I was wondering if there's any way that I can get in touch with you or James or Lisa Ann, I think is how you pronounce your name, to maybe do like, I don't know, like a podcast, discussion about the film.
I'm positive that they would be down with that.
That would be awesome.
I'll randomly ask them, like, do you have any plans, for any kind of 10-year anniversary sort of deal? And they've expressed some. They've visited a few times, and they actually documented some of the release of The End Is Nigh. So they come in and out, but I don't know if anything will come of anything. But email me. I don't know how to.
You're on the Discord. I mean, he can send you a
yeah. Well, I have it blocked so no one can contact me.
Oh.
Let me 1 second.
Oh, cool.
There.
This is awesome.
There
That's what I'm talking. Hey, thanks so much. That's awesome. Yep. That's pretty much. I'll save all the rest of my Indie Game the movie questions for possibly a future podcast. Thank you so much for the time, David.
Anytime, buddy. Thank you for being here. Thanks, bud. Real fast, that whole thing about the movie and where he says my heart broke watching Phil Fish and all this stuff, is that weird? Like, for me, a lot of people say, oh, Jaffe, you're honest, you're too honest, whatever, but I pushed back. Like, I even made a video I took down because I thought I wasn't the right guy to make a video about it. There was a God of War 2018 documentary called Raising Kratos, and I had some issues with that. And it's like, once you've been behind the curtain of what it means to be covered by the press or covered by documentaries and things like that, like, it's so manipulative that you want to, or at least my response was to sort of push back against it and just like, I'm throwing open the kimono and showing everything, because I felt almost irresponsible. Like, even I'm sure that was rough for Phil's game to crash at PAX, but we've all had games crash and not work when you're, showing your game off to the press or what have you. But suddenly it's got music, and suddenly it's got editing, and suddenly it's got flashbacks, and it takes on this dramatized version of truth that I started feeling very irresponsible about putting out into the world. I mean, did you have that same sense of it?
Yeah, the bane of my existence and the most terrible thing that's ever happened, and it used to happen often, it doesn't happen so much anymore, is people would come up to me on the street and say, I saw the movie and I quit my steady job to become indie. And it was like, I don't know what message you got from the movie. And being inspired and doing whatever, like, it's your life, you got to go for it. Right. But when you've got like a wife and kids and you have his job at EA, and then you've quit it to become indie, and it's like, because you saw this movie that inspired you, sometimes I worried that it didn't, even though I feel like, at least for me, they did a pretty good job explaining that I had done this for 10 years and I had amassed this following of people and I had these options. I didn't fall out of the sky. I had been working since high school on this, and I just worry that a lot of people will come in and see it like, oh, anyone can do this. I even will go I live by UCSC, and often I'm invited to go and do talks there and stuff like that. And one of the most common things that I get asked is like, do you think I can make it as an indie, or should I work for a company? And my answer is always, if you aren't already being indie, you won't make it as being indie, and you should work at a company. Because in order to do this, you need to have already been living the life as an independent artist. Right. And it would already be who you are. You would have projects going at all times since you were young.
Right.
And that is the reality of it. Baby's back.
Let me talk to that baby.
Minnie, I gotta leave in like 5 or 10 minutes.
All right, I'll get these final calls on real quick. Yeah, no, I hear you about that. It's the baby has returned. All right, we are gonna
don't mute us.
We're gonna pull in calls fast and furious. So you guys, I got to get out of here. So let's put on these really fast, quick questions. This is AT Gamer. AT Gamer, you've been waiting a long time. Go, sir. AT. Is it AT or at? It's AT. It's at. Anyway, AT Gamer, go.
Hello. By the way, Paige and I are like together, I think.
Be louder. I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Sorry. Okay. Paige Pants and I are like together.
Nobody cares. Go. What's your question? Go.
Oh, okay. I really love Indie Game the movie. It's one of my favorite movies. My question is, have you ever lost motivation? And like, if you did, what did you do to combat that?
Cool. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for the question, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for waiting, sir.
The question was motivation?
Yeah, if you ever lost motivation, what did you do to combat that?
I'm a human being. Number one, this is what I do, and this kind of goes what we talked about before. When I have lack of motivation, what I do is I put on an album or I watch a movie or I play a game that fills me back up creatively. And if that doesn't work, what I try my best to do going in, and this is this is what everyone should do, I think, in game development. We talked about it earlier as well. When you're designing something, don't fill in all the gaps because it will become boring and you will lose motivation. Leave gaps open so you can experience the fun, yummy bits as you progress through a multi-year cycle. Like, you need to have fun stuff that is open-ended so you can keep being creative as you go and not just lock this shit down and, make it all math. It's like, oh, well, this does this, this, and this. I've mapped it out all on paper and we just follow this. Following these directions is fucking boring as fuck. And you're going to lose motivation. You're going to lose steam. So you have to design your process like a designer, because you are a designer. So you design your process to make it exciting for you and rewarding for you as you go. Did she bite you or scratch you? Oh, she bit her.
Okay, you are on with Pangly Pants. Pangly Pants, go.
It's Pangly Pants, but okay.
I really don't care. Go.
Yeah.
Go, buddy. I'm just fucking with you. Go.
All right. So, what is your main way to get inspiration for specifically game mechanics?
What I usually do for game mechanics is I will either think of something that I think is interesting and inspiring thematically for me, and I will try to find game designs that complement those things and design around those. Or I'll take an existing mechanic from something that I like. Like the best is like literally the Binding of Isaac is I'm going to take the dungeon structure from The Legend of Zelda, I'm going to take shooting from Smash TV, and I'm going to try to reinvent it in a roguelike formula, much like Spelunky did with like Mario roguelike. And I just do a Tarantino. That's what I do for a majority of my things. I find something that I thought was really cool as a kid that I think could be expanded on more and may be made personal by myself, and then I riff on it until it becomes mine.
There you go. Thanks for the question, buddy. Thanks for waiting, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know if you've read a book called Hitmakers, but it's that whole idea of taking something that people are comfortable with already. My baby, you better put your wife on the phone. I want to talk to your wife in a minute. Hang on. All right, Fuzznuts, you're on.
Have to get on here.
Yeah, Fuzznuts, you're on. Go, buddy.
Yeah, hey, don't feel stupid for getting goosebumps.
I don't want any attention.
Oh, I don't know if I believe that, lady. All right, keep going, Fuzznuts.
All right, so two quick questions. So one, like the Super Meat Boy and Isaac are pretty tough games. I tend to gravitate towards those games. Do you find yourself, since you've developed two of them, do you like play harder games when you're just kind of sitting around, or do you not go towards games like Cuphead, Sekiro, whatever?
All right. Well, thanks, Fuzznuts. Appreciate it, buddy.
There are. So I've tried to play the Souls games, and they are not too hard, but too punishing at times. Like when the walk to the fight, to learn the fight, becomes annoying to me, then I kind of get discouraged. But games like Spelunky, I'll play to death, and that game is fucking really hard. So yeah, it just depends on the game. But I gravitate towards games that can be replayed infinitely, so I tend to play multiplayer games. Like me and my wife play. We just got back into playing Overwatch again, which is the same game as it was, but it's a really good game. And we'll play Call of Duty and that sort of stuff.
Okay, this is Club Kasaba. You're on with Edmund McMillan.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Yep.
I do.
Okay. Could you recommend a game, an obscure game that you love and nobody Place.
No.
Please.
That's a common one too. I don't, dude. I can recommend 1,000 movies that are obscure that no one really watches that you could probably really enjoy. But when it comes to games,
Begotten.
What was that?
Begotten is a
Begotten.
movie.
Oh yeah, I know Begotten. I know.
There's a game called Dwarf Romantic. Nobody plays it, but it's phenomenal. Go get it. It's on Steam.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right, Kasabi. Thanks, sir. All right, this is last 2 calls. This is Cass and Wave. Go, bud. Cass and Wave, you are on.
Do you want to put her in her seat? Hello.
Hey, so Edmund, I know you've mostly been like video games your whole life, but for your foray into Force Souls, I just want to know like how that was, how it was different, what you enjoyed about it, that kind of thing.
I love the people that I work with. I love programmers in general, but I love not working with a programmer. I loved being able to do everything myself, and I loved the ease of playtesting. I got to make a game with my wife, which has never happened, you know.
That's cool.
And it was really fun. It was such a needed break from the usual thing, and to make something that's socially based was really, really, really fun. And I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, very different and very easy. I won't roll.
Cool, man.
The baby's crawling around on the feet.
Thank you for the call, bud. Last call, if we can get it in. Cass and Wave, are you there? If not, we're wrapping up. Casson, I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We can't hear you, buddy. Sorry, bud. All right, that's it for the calls. Thank you guys so much for waiting for us, and I appreciate that. And I hope
you want Danielle. You want Danielle to sit down?
Put her on that show. Let's talk to his wife now. Now you guys are gonna hear the real fucking dirt.
Oh my god,
it's bad.
Oh my god.
So, Danielle. This is me. How are you? Oh yeah, you got to go on the Zoom. You got to go on the Discord.
How do I do it?
Okay, so unmute yourself. Unmute yourself on the mute yourself on. Tell Ed that he's got to unmute you on Zoom and mute you on Discord.
Okay, this is Ed fix. Is the I'm moving my window.
Maybe do this.
He said unmute me on Zoom.
Unmute and then mute
Mute
him
me
on
on Discord. Oh, that's okay.
He is muted. You hear him now?
Can you hear me?
Now?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just hear one of you now.
You're echoing, but I can fix that. Okay. There you're good. You're all good. Okay, your name is Danielle. You are married to Edmund, and that is your baby.
That's my second baby.
Right. Now here's a question for you.
Yeah.
What is it like? Well, first off, people know you, so you're part of this story, right? How do people know you? Because I'm looking at the chat, and people like you're part of his fandom, right? I mean, you're not like off in the shadows. How do people know who you are?
I think people know who I am through the documentary.
Oh, you were in Indie Movie.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a long time since I've seen it. Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Same girl, same gal.
Okay. What is it? I was married for a long while. Loved being married to the lady, but it didn't work out. But here's the question. So she didn't give a fuck about how famous I was and how well known I was and how successful I was. She loved me. She's a great mom. She's a great friend, but she didn't give a shit. Now, with you and Edward, do you look at you're with Edmund in bed, and you're like, is part of what makes it work because you're like, you fucking made Meat Boy, you son of a bitch, and it just goes? Like, is that part of the passion? Or is it kind of just like, fuck it, dude, I don't care what you do. You could be a mailman, and I'd still want to fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter that he made Meat Boy.
I mean, when I first met him, he was working at Blockbuster.
Okay.
And he had paint splattered pants on, and I thought, this is the hottest person I've ever seen in my life.
Is that true?
That is true.
That is
I thought
amazing.
He was so cute. And my sister was working there, and I told my sister, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you loved him and were into him before he became who he is?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a huge factor
Of
in how
why?
he became who he is.
Oh, that's wonderful. So let's be clear, if a divorce happens, you get half because you're part of it.
Yeah, you can talk to our accountant.
But
who will agree.
beyond that, that's so wonderful. So you fell in love before the success. So he knows it's true love. He knows it's true love.
We have been together for October will be our 22-year anniversary.
Oh, I would say congratulations, but is it? Is it a good marriage? Are you happy in the marriage?
Yeah.
Well, don't you hate how people like, oh, we've been married for 40 years. Oh, yay. It's like, not yay if you've been fucking white knuckling it for the last 30 years, but if you guys, right? Yeah. But if you guys are saying, oh, it's a good marriage, I'm happy for you. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, well, considering like we've had, I mean, well, I get really irritated when people are like, it shouldn't be hard work. It should be.
Oh,
easy.
it's totally hard.
It's hard work, and we go to therapy, and we still get in arguments where we're trying to figure out like, how the fuck does this? Who's right?
Right.
And but you still don't.
But you play games. You play games. You're both geeks, right? See, that's a big important part of it. My ex. This is therapy for me now, Danielle. You're my therapist. Okay. My ex, lovely woman.
Yeah.
She's not into the geek things. My new wife, the new Mrs. Jaffe, when I find her, she's got to be a geek, man. I got to have somebody to geek out with on the Marvel movies and shit.
Yeah, how do you not?
Because she was so hot.
Oh.
And she was wonderful, and she was a wonderful friend, and she was, there was a lot we had in common, but when it came down to the fun stuff on the weekends and shit, it was like, she'd rather go to the Getty Center in LA, and I'd rather go see, Spider-Man 2 for the 5th time.
Yeah, I imagine that's how I would feel if Ed was like a sports person or something.
Yeah, no, we don't want that for Edward. Let's Edmund. Why do I call him Ed? You ever call him Edward? You know you do.
Yeah, in bed.
In bed.
When we're doing our Twilight.
Is that the role play? Yeah. There you go. I'm on Team Edmund. I'm gonna get a T-shirt that says Team Edmund. Is what I'm gonna do. Okay, so listen to me. This is important. You're obviously very engaged in raising the children, folk. Running the home.
Yeah.
Do you do creative work as well as Edmund?
Yeah. Do I?
Yeah. Are you an artist, a writer? What do you do?
Oh yeah, I sew. I like to do anything, but the thing I'm best at is sewing.
Okay. So what do you make? What do you make?
Like stuffed animals, plush toys.
Do you have one you can show us? Tell Edward to go get a goddamn toy. Tell him to earn
something out of the storage room.
Earn your fucking keep, Edmund.
There's like, well, I don't know if he told you, like the house is still in like major disarray.
Did you guys just move?
A couple months ago, and it's still like under construction and stuff. So like most of my stuff is way upstairs.
Right.
And but I just like. Last weekend, I turned on my sewing machine for the first time in 2 years.
Oh my God, that must feel good.
Yeah,
to get back to your passion.
Did. Like I had been hand sewing and stuff a little bit, but it's really hard to. Yeah, here's the thing I made. I made this little mushroom.
Oh, that's staggeringly cute. Do you make them and sell them?
Yeah, I did. When Meat Boy came out.
Why did that go away? I want to see the mushroom more.
And this is some upholstery fabric that I bought, and
Oh, that's so delightful.
Thank you.
So what? Yeah, you sell these?
I did. I would like to again. I mean, I will at some point once she's a little bit older.
Okay.
I'm pretty the baby makes me pretty happy.
In
I
terms
need a
of
little bit of creativity to keep me going, but
I understand. It goes so fast, dude. It goes so fast.
That's what I think about. Like, I'm going to have so many years where they want nothing to do with me, so I better take this opportunity now.
I know. I remember I was working on a game once, and we had a guy who had kids about 5 years older than mine, and he was talking about the weekend. I said, I don't have weekends. I have small kids, so I wake up, and it's kind of 7 o'clock on a Saturday. We're doing cereal and cartoons and playing games and, whatever. And he's like, oh, mine just get up, make themselves breakfast, and watch cartoons. I'm like, that sounds like heaven. Although I love doing that with my kids. But you're right. They get to an age where you really are. It's like, your job now, Dad, is to feed me and keep me alive and every now and then hang out with me. That's it. So you're right. You're absolutely right. So enjoy the shit out of it, man, because it goes like insanely quick. Which is
I'm trying to make these years magical.
good for you. Oh, that's nice. Well, it's nice to meet you. I appreciate it. And listen. If you, what happened? What was the look? Did you think we were having a moment there? Did you think there was some kind of sexual tension? No. I don't do that. I don't do that on other men's wives. I wouldn't do that to Edmund.
All right.
Maybe, but not in front of him. But listen, here's the thing.
He can't hear.
I know. Well, he's watching. Do you think he's not back watching this thing later? Listen to me.
That's true. Okay.
Listen to me. You did Meat Boy stuffed animals too.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I made money before anybody. I had the money.
Okay.
I was raking.
But how fast could you make them? Because I imagine you must have made over 100.
They were very simple, and the demand was so high that and it's all I was doing. Didn't have any kids. We didn't have kids until we had been together for about 16 years.
Okay.
So we had a good run of doing just whatever we wanted to do.
That's fun.
But I had been selling them for 15, and then I think the demand I went up to I can't remember if it was like 26 or 30, but it was
$30. $30.
Yeah.
But how many could you make in a week?
Oh, just tons.
Like
it was just
more than 20?
Oh yeah, 20 in a day.
Wow.
And Notch.
I know Notch.
You heard that fella?
I've heard of him.
He bought one.
He turned out to be a racist. Did you hear that?
Oh, I've heard so many things.
Yeah, I don't know if he really is.
I don't
That's the word on the street.
Oh, I guess I should. Well, this was before anybody knew he was racist.
Okay.
Notch. Oh, I
don't know if he's racist. I heard he had some trouble with the cancel culture. I don't know what it was though.
Oh, I always hear that he's saying stuff.
Okay. So
he's a I wish I could see the chat. It's probably going crazy.
The chat is saying we love Notch. That's fake news. Fuck you, Jaffe. Somebody said demand is still high. You just gave up the supply. They're sad.
Yeah, I'll be back. Like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was making so much Isaac stuff. It was popping, and then I don't know, I broke my feet and I bled internally. And
you broke your feet like that lady who your daughter makes fun of, who doesn't have feet.
Oh, one of Peach's characters.
Yeah, she don't have feet either.
Yeah,
that's kismet or some such shit. That's karma.
I fell down the stairs.
Whoa! Why'd you quote that? Did he push you? Did Edmund push you down the stairs?
Call the police.
You want a pepperoni pizza? You know that's the code, right? If you call 911 and you say I'd like to order a pizza, and they say, "Oh, is somebody there in your home?" You say, "Yes, pepperoni." That means they'll send a car. Absolutely.
Ordering pizza was for pedophiles.
I don't know. I'm not a pedophile, so I don't know. But you guys.
Pizzagate.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. You guys do you, but I'm saying.
What I was gonna say about Notch.
Yeah, is a pedophile? Notch is a pedophile. You heard it first. Parker, I want pictures of Spider-Man. All right, keep going.
He bought one when it was like $15 and a Meat Boy, and I just was kicking myself because I thought I should have listed that one for like $1 million.
You should have put diamonds in the goddamn thing and said this is look, let's be clear about good Sir Edmund. His creativity well's running dry. I have a new character that I want you to merch for me. So as soon as it's clear that eugenics, really, come on. As soon as that is done and he realizes no one's buying eugenics merch, I want you to give me a shout because I got a character named Little Uzi Goldsmith. Okay. And it is the most diverse video game character you've ever seen. I want dolls for this. Will you do it for me, assuming you're free?
Let me get a sketch.
Oh, I'll show it to you right now. I'll send.
Oh, okay. And assuming you haven't been canceled by that time.
Oh, I'm yeah. Well, as you and your husband both know, the nicest thing in the world is working for yourself because no one can cancel you.
Yeah.
It's like fuck you. It's like, and I'm a nice guy, by the way. I'm
Except
just
for yourself. Like. Trigger warning. Oh, that's so much better. Look. I can see. Look at this. This is from the baby pinching me.
Oh my God, today?
No, it used to be black and blue. And she bites me.
Oh, poor
Yeah,
baby.
we can't keep that anymore.
Oh.
Oh, we can keep the baby. I meant the beanbag. The beanbag the cat peed on.
Ooh, isn't that the worst? Cat pee's the worst smell in the world.
She's so
man.
old. She's just. Ugh.
Can I tell you a fast story? Then I'll let you go. I know you guys got to go somewhere.
Oh yeah, because we got to go get the big girl.
Listen to me. So I had a Cocker Spaniel, and he got out of the backyard and he went down the street, and I went to get him, and these ladies found him, and they said, "Oh, is this your dog?" I said, "Yeah, thanks for getting the dog." And they said, "We were about to call the SPCA or whatever, the animal people." I said, "Why?" They said, "Because this dog looks like they've been mistreated." And I said, "Well, the dog's in kidney failure, motherfucker. And I just spent like $3,000 trying to save its life. And we ended up putting him down in a week. We should have put him down. The point is we should have put him down at least 3 months before we put him down. But you just don't want to say goodbye. You love him."
Yeah, that's what we did with Guppy. We just did it right away because I could imagine taking him home and doing that. But I do understand. I mean, I think with a dog, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your husband's time. I know you guys got to go.
Thank you for your time, Ed.
Edmund, thank you so much, buddy. Thanks for all that you've given to people. I know
He
know
says
that you're.
we should use our bidet more.
Oh, don't be a moron. Use that bidet. Clean your butthole.
I don't want to take it out anymore. Not my butthole, the bidet.
Yeah, I was gonna say it detaches. You have one that detaches. You put it in the washing machine. Put it in the dishwasher.
Prolapse.
I know, my mom had that. My brother called me and said, "Mom's butt," because he was taking care of her towards the end. He says, "Mom's butthole fell out of her." I said,
"Mom's butthole fell out of her."
I says, "Your butthole can't fall out." He goes, "Her butthole's hanging out of her." He says, "It looks like an apple." I said, "I don't want to know that at all." You guys rock. Thank you for putting up with me, Edmund.
I'm gonna have to have Ed tell you about a video there is online. I
Oh my God, is this pee here?
Or is it pee or is it soda? There's a video. I'm certain I can't talk about it on.
Is it about buttholes coming out of butts? Yeah. Use the bidet. You don't have to put it away. Put it as part of your toilet. Put it as part of your toilet, man.
Oh, in the toilet.
It goes under the seat and you flip
It's like
a switch.
a whole separate thing.
It takes, no, don't do that. That's for babies. Get yourself a bidet and make that clean butthole. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Come on now. Come on.
I
now.
know.
I mean,
and on that note,
get your
Till
baby.
next time.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Edmund. Appreciate it, buddy. Bye, you guys.
bye.
Thanks, everybody. All right, there you go. That is the great Edmund McMillan. I hope you guys enjoyed that chat with him. What a nice guy. What a funny guy. What a friendly guy. And more importantly, what a honest, genuine human. I really like talking to people like that because, there's so much artifice in the business and there's so much artifice around PR and how games get made. And it's nice when people are like, "Look, dude, I'm just living my life, doing my best, and I'm expressing myself through my art." So he's great. His wife is great. What a champ. What a wonderful cute little baby. I enjoyed that conversation. I hope you did as well. Let me get some super chats that have come in. Af Rally dropped the first one. Thank you, buddy, for that. Very, very appreciated. Shout out to the Jaffinator, says Wooly Gamer. Are you excited for Thursday? Yes, I am excited for Thursday. You're talking about the PlayStation Showcase, which absolutely, of course, we will be live streaming. I will be doing streaming, of course, before that. I might even stream tonight a little bit. I'll be doing some shows before that. But yes, 100% I'm excited to watch the Thursday PlayStation. Here is another from Wooly Gamer. He says, another 5 pounds, baby, because RPG the Mod spelled my name right. Isn't that something? Isn't that kind, Wooly Gamer? I appreciate it. Fuck you, Shadow Rage. Fuck you, Shadow Rage. All right, fellas, I'm going to go get some foodstuffs, and then I'm going to get to some work. I might see you guys later on the stream. I might do a Gabbing and Games today, but in the meantime, that was it. The next interview we have coming up is the lead designer and lead creative of a company called Mimi Games, who make the brilliant Shadow Tactics and the even more brilliant Desperados 3. We have Brenda Romero coming up this month. We have Dr. Kate, I'm going to space on her last name. She has written a brilliant book called Turned On, which is all about, I'm not even joking with you, she is a lecturer at King's College in London. She is one of the top specialists on intimacy and AI and sex robots. She wrote a great book called Turned On that is all about state-of-the-art, how these robots work, how they will change our culture. She will be on the show in September as well. So there you go. Thank you all. Thank you, RPG, for modding. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody. If I can figure out where the off switch is. I don't know where it is. Bacon Magma, you never get it. You get interviewed all the time. Or should I call you Merkham? Whatever.